Yeah, sorry. It was a tardy party and everybody was invited. And then we did too loud of a test. There we go. We're good. We're live, pal.
Test. Oh, there we go.
All right, no more tests. Whew. That was a lot. Jack got busy too.
Blew that whole opening.
Blew the whole spot. but it's okay. It's audio only, so that's why it works. I've been really just like lately been. Why am I stuck in this? It keeps sticking my volume. So sorry, I stayed up late. Mike, I finally finished Cobra Kai. We're not going to talk about it yet because Mario's got to blaze through it. But I
still need a Netflix password. Someone put one in the chat.
Just throw one in the chat. But yeah, I did the. Oh, you know what? There's only 3 episodes left, and then just it was late, and it was worth it, and there was no turning back.
How many episodes is there?
10.
All right.
Yeah, they're sticking to their 10. Cobra Kai never dies, so you're gonna love it, man. You're gonna love it. Here's the only spoiler we're gonna give, and it's not even really a spoiler because it's already all over Twitter. There's a Judas sing-along in Cobra Kai.
Oh, I heard about this, but Jericho's not in it, right?
No.
Oh wait, is that a spoiler?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, never mind.
No. But wow, this is the franchise that honors the history of its own property. It respects its own IP. It respects its book. And I think that's why it gets 100% love on Rotten Tomatoes. Everything's good. You got a good soundtrack. It just hit, man. And it did it again where there's a nice little swerve and you don't know where it's going. So you know it's not over yet. They encapsulate their seasons into you can just watch this season by yourself, but you're benefited if you stick around for the whole ride.
I'm excited to see it. I want to see it. I've just been, I don't know why. I'm surprised at myself for having so much patience.
I'm surprised because since you and I have been watching it back in the YouTube Red days, you finish instantly. Like usually I never even get a chance. And
Yeah.
I was actually surprised that you didn't find a way.
Netflix cracking down on sharing passwords, man.
Yeah, Netflix has been bad if you're sharing your password with your fam like we all are. Mike did a overnight binge release. He literally did put on his scuba costume, dropped into the water, and we didn't see him for days. He finished it off overnight. So, but yeah, you're really gonna enjoy it. It's good. Hats off to Netflix. Adam said, I was so excited for season 4, but never got around to watching it. And now there's a damn season 5 already. Adam, we can tell you that if you just take 2, you can finish it in the weekend, both of those seasons in a weekend. Easy.
What does it come out to? Like a 3.5 hour movie, kind of?
Yeah, because
it's almost as long as RRR, slightly.
Yeah. I was actually surprised. This was the longest episode. Was the season 5 finale was 48 minutes.
Oh wow!
It was a big one.
That is long.
Yeah, so it was really good. But there's just something about, not since Glow on Netflix have you been able to easily consume a show like Cobra Kai. There's just something about it you just can't stop eating. It is the Pringles of show. No one can eat just one.
No, yeah. That's why I didn't open the package on that one. It's just like I told you, I would have been up all night like Mike.
Yeah.
Had to just wait.
But
I'm going to check it out this weekend.
Worth it. But it was a busy week, man. It got hairy. We had a lot of drops. We had a lot of surprise drops. We did not get to see the Pearl premiere last night. It did drop here in Austin,
I saw
Texas.
folks coming out of it. They were really happy.
Yeah, Ty West. But I like that this time. Like, he didn't do it with Pearl after the X movie. You didn't know there was a trailer, but he dropped it. You're the one that told me. He's like, he dropped it a day early that, hey, this is going to be a trilogy. And they showed that Maxine.
He didn't want folks to accidentally walk out this time.
Yeah, which is probably exactly what happened, because I wouldn't have walked out unless you told me. But that Maxine trailer looks beautiful. It looks fantastic. 80s.
Well, they don't really show anything. It's just like
Yeah,
stock
that's all you
footage
need. But I don't know if I just marked out for anybody who remembers watching Saturday night's main event live, just to know that they had the opening credit song, which was "You Are My Obsession."
Was that the Saturday night's main event song?
Yeah, that they did not pay for.
How could they
Like
could just get
like-
away with not paying for it?
No, now if you go to the network or Peacock, they don't play that song. They play the generico version of it, so it's not the same. Yeah, Tiny Dumb Arcade said, Mario, get your cats in check.
Podcat just roams the studio. Can't do anything.
Can't. Yeah, it's unstoppable. And it's only one. She just throws her voice. But she's everywhere. So that dropped. We had a huge D23 Expo day. We're going to go through each one of those drops which the one I'm most excited for is Werewolf by Night. It looks great. It looks like Boris Karloff if he would have made a Grindhouse film.
What is Werewolf by Night? What is that comic?
It's just exactly what. So Werewolf by Night is going to.
Is there a day wolf?
Yeah, he's part of the gang, the clique, if you will, with the Midnight Suns. So he lives in the Ghost Rider universe, the Blade universe. But he's a werewolf. So we'll go over that. But it's a cool looking poster. It looked a little clean, and I know they were going for the Grindhouse effect. They tried to.
Was it video? The trailer looked like it was video.
Yeah, they tried to go with video. They gave you the CBS special, with the rainbow color. So they committed to it, and it's only one episode, so it's not. It's a very light lift, but they're going to establish. I love that they're about to establish holiday specials, because we got this one, and then we're getting the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, which I can't wait, because we know James Gunn can do movies, but Peacemaker showed that he knocks TV out of the park. So I'm really curious what he's going to do with this streaming here.
I'm sure he'll really lean into the TV aesthetic.
Yeah,
and try to make it really goofy.
It's going to be good. And then our buddy, my longtime tag team partner in pro wrestling, Wayne, is going to be calling in. He's usually our human Wikipedia, but he just got caught up to all the AEW drama. And then we started talking about some of our locker room stories, and he sent me a text that was like a novel, and it was all such great. And I was like,
did you just copy paste that text you sent me?
Yeah, I did. And
I thought you wrote all of that, and it was really fast. I was like, what the hell?
No, I copied and pasted you the first paragraph of a 4-paragraph text of what his opinion is on basically how we would have handled a fist fight in the 90s, not even like the 80s, 70s, how we would have handled a fist fight in the 90s, which it would have been a completely different experience that may not have resembled a safe space at work. So, but I do want to give a shout out and RIP to one of our fallen brothers, Bubba Monroe, the Cajun Brawler. You'd never heard of him. A lot of people haven't heard of him, and they should have. You would have heard of his father, Sputnik Monroe, who was a huge wrestler in Memphis in the 50s, and he had a lot to do with basically racial equality and how they started. There was no different water fountains with Sputnik Monroe, and he became a hero in Memphis, and this was even before Jerry Lawler, and fantastic wrestlers. We've probably quoted him on here many times without doing it. Like if you're in the ring and you throw a punch during practice, he'll say, "Why are you stomping? If you're going to punch, you punch." And I've said this quote before. This was a Sputnik Monroe quote. "You're going to get hit really hard in safe places." And his son, Bubba, really did live up to that. He's one of the guys, when we got a little too overexcited, right? We were 20-year-old guys. Let's go, let's do this. And he figured out how to slow you down. And he's like, listen to me, kid. And finally, I wouldn't listen to him. And then I was trying to let's go to the next spot. It was almost like and he literally, all he did was this. And I dropped. And then I started listening to him. It's like, oh, okay.
Well, you want to give Wayne a call?
Yeah, you ready to give him a call? So yeah, we got a lot to talk about here. So
since you built him up so well,
yeah, let's do it.
I couldn't hold the graphic any longer.
That's good. All right. Oh yeah, that's a good graphic. Mike said, "Night Wolf, fighter of the day wolf, All right, here we go. Let us get him on the line. He's not as Googleable because of the whole. He's not Newman.
Yeah.
So let's get him on the line.
You're not Googleable either. You're from the non-Googleable.
Oh no, you can get me, but you just don't get any of the matches because they're on VHS, like Maxine. Wayne, are you there? What's up, brother? How are you?
Doing great.
Good. Welcome. We are live. We are live on the inner tubes. So welcome.
What's up, Wayne?
Hey, Mario. How you doing, buddy?
Good. So I was telling people in chat, and I was telling Mario a little bit about. I've started off with an RIP, to our fallen brother Bubba Monroe. Great. We have so many stories, some that cannot be told here live, and then talking about his dad, Sputnik, why are you stomping, getting hit hard in safe places, like how some of those wily veterans trained you to wrestle, right? The story of let's break Hulk Hogan's leg just to see if he comes back is true. Can you imagine?
Absolutely.
Can you imagine that now? So, and Wayne, I was telling them how you just got caught up with that whole AEW, the Scrum ride from hell, the all-out fallout of just the locker room brawl, and then you and I started chatting, and I was like, wait, I know we haven't gotten you on to talk about wrestling, but we have to get this on the show.
I saw one of the texts. I know you have a lot of thoughts. So you watch the Scrum?
I saw pieces of it, yes. I don't think anyone should have been shocked. I mean, the pipe bomb, master going off and bringing in personal information. I don't see why anybody would be surprised by that. That's kind of been his MO, and could say it got him to the top of the mountain. And so I actually believe that's the biggest issue from my way of thinking, an old school wrestling way of thinking, is a wrestler went into business for himself on a microphone, tore down both the company, its staff, its wrestlers, with the owner sitting right there shaking his head. I mean, he humiliated Tony Khan.
He did.
And then, as a wrestler that, decades ago, it's hard to imagine that it's a big deal that a fight broke out in a wrestling locker room. I mean, we saw so many fights. It was almost like a night-to-night occurrence. But
dude, wait, before you do that, I got to cut you off because it just hit me. Over a gimmick? You fucking fighting over a gimmick?
Exactly.
What's that?
So that is Black Bart yelling at two wrestlers that were fighting over a gimmick. But get this, the gimmick it wasn't a gimmick. They both happened to be wearing red, white, and blue.
And that led to a fist fight?
No gimmick, and they got in a fist fight where chairs flew.
Who won?
The chair. Over a gimmick! You fighting over a fucking gimmick! But sorry, Wayne, that popped in my head. Yeah, fights all the time.
Yeah, but it's a different age. Today, in today's corporate atmospheres, lawsuits are going to fly, so I can kind of see, why they would react so hard to a fight in the locker room. I mean, today's performers are expecting safe spaces or more, specific safe workspace, places. And in that atmosphere, I guess that works.
Well,
and
it also had...
I'm a little surprised.
It also had a huge build before the fight. There was CM Punk built it like it was a pay-per-view fight. He talked shit for like 20 minutes. So I think that's one of the reasons it's generated so much interest.
Yeah, and as executive vice presidents, bad move. But as wrestlers, when he said, I'll be walking down the hall after this, if you got something to say, come up to my face, they had to react. As a wrestler, you cannot let the locker room think that you can be pushed around and someone can throw down a challenge and you're not going to meet it. So they had to confront him.
You're fired. And if this is any earlier than probably, what would you say, Wayne? Probably 2000s. Anything earlier than 2000 that happens, you're fired. The other way, you're not fired for starting the fight. You're fired for not fighting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you have no choice. Whether you're a legit tough guy or strictly a performer, you have to answer the challenge. You're better off getting your ass beat down in a locker room and showing the locker room and the promoter that you're willing to go, than to just back down and walk away from the fight. But corporate wrestling is a different atmosphere.
Yeah.
I was actually a little surprised to learn that they suspended the producers that tried to break up suspended
the
producers that broke up the fight. And it's like, well, what was I supposed to do?
But it's a very HR move. It's just like, everybody suspended. Everybody that was here, everybody that saw it, clean sweep. You know what I mean?
Exactly. But they're reinstating the people that weren't directly involved in the fight. So at least the locker room can see that the investigation is moving forward and it's being taken seriously. Because everything I'm hearing is that locker room is seriously divided, and there's guys that are their heads are going to explode if CM Punk isn't fired. And I guess he threw the first fight, but it's hard. The first punch, but it's hard for me to think that you would fire a wrestler for throwing a punch in a locker room when someone storms your locker room.
Yeah.
If somebody comes through the door, now it's kind of been debunked that they kicked the door down, but if somebody comes charging in your locker room and charging up to you where you're getting dressed, I don't know of any wrestlers we ran the road with that I would consider real wrestlers that wouldn't have stood up and threw the first punch. You can't have that. And so, but again, back to corporate wrestling, it's a whole new atmosphere nowadays.
Yeah.
And the money is so huge. At first, I was kind of siding the other way, but I gotta say, I think that CM Punk's at fault. I think his skin is too thin. Maybe Adam Page shouldn't have thrown in there about Colt Cabana, but apparently he got into it with a fan heckling him. You can't, as a
he did do that.
Wrestler,
was that when he called that guy real fat in the front row?
Yep. Yeah.
You can't let the crowd get under your skin where you break a promo on national TV to address one guy in the crowd. I think his skin is just too thin, and he couldn't let these things go. And it's a huge opportunity to do business between those guys, but I think, in hindsight, because you have to consider their TV contract down the line, I don't think it would be the right decision to throw them in the ring together and try to make money out of it, because it could send a message as a corporation, you're not taking this thing seriously, and you're trying to wrestling thing, and wrestling is working hard to establish itself as legitimate business that is run under a corporate atmosphere, under corporate rules, and that it's safe to put us on TV, that we won't go into business and a real fight break out on live TV on a network and lawsuits start flying, which could possibly include the network.
Right.
Do you think CM Punk went into that presser fully intending to say all that? Or do you think he decided on the fly?
I think it was in the moment, but
I think it hit him in the moment. I agree with you, Jeff, but I think it had been festering for a long time.
Yeah.
He had a lot to say. It wasn't just like a couple of comments, right? It went on for a long time.
They dropped it and he brought it back.
Yeah, he kept bringing it back up.
Yeah, he kept bringing it back up.
Yeah, that was actually bizarre when he was grilling that at the very beginning, when he was grilling that reporter about his relationship with Colt Cabana.
He was like, I heard you do improv with Colt Cabana.
Yeah. That was nuts. Did you see all the reviews for Mindy's Bakery? She got she got review bombed. Oh man, it's something. It's pretty incredible. There's some pretty funny ones in there.
CM Punk thought he was putting them over in the presser by eating their muffins and dropping their name, and now she is like
she's
spammed.
She's completely
doxed.
Review bombed. Now the good news is they're not taking out any heat, but they are pulling off this is great. If you want to air dirty laundry, this is the best muffin, while you're airing your dirty laundry. There's a lot of that going on there. So, but jumping back, Wayne, I want to jump back really quick because this is what's interesting, because we talked about this last week. This would be the opportunity to make some business, right? This is a piece of business. But now,
in the old days, it would have been huge business.
Yeah.
This is the hot, or was, a week ago, was the hot story, was the biggest thing going in wrestling. It literally overshadowed the WWE pay-per-view.
Right, with 60,000 people.
Huge business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in today's corporate atmosphere, is it sending the wrong message to the Net TV network? Because everything I'm hearing is that they're really concentrating and worried about renewing that TV deal. I believe it comes up in 2024. So,
because that's Warner Discovery, right? And they're just erasing entire movies.
Yeah.
Yes.
They don't care.
Yes.
And it's a very scary time because this, the whole fall of WCW had a lot to do with, the inmates running the asylum. But that Time Warner Kate, right? AOL Time Warner with that whole split and merger, it became a very fragile time. So it's ironic that now there's a big contract negotiation that's coming up for TV rights while something big like this has happened. And you can see Tony Khan, man, he farted in an elevator and got out of there. He didn't bring it up at all. Didn't make eye contact with it. Nothing. He was just like,
no.
He's like, we're completely moving on like this never even happened. He gave like I was like, whoa, this is wrestling. You're actually giving a true press statement in my wrestling and not bringing up names. Like, yeah, this is over, so we're going to do this instead. But no opportunity.
Absolutely.
It was like Westworld, and he was just like, doesn't look like anything to me.
Yeah. What door?
Yeah.
What door?
It's strange. This is strange, thinking for me from my era, because this would have been huge business, but in today's, he may not be able to speak on it for legal purposes.
Right.
It may not just be him avoiding it. It may be him having to avoid it.
Yeah, and I think that's why he was.
The whole thing is bizarre.
Well, I saw, and this is when it really struck home, right? Because YouTube, hey, shout out to YouTube. That's where we are right now. When I saw Being the Elite said, we are going on a hiatus indefinitely or until further notice, then you realized, okay, this is something legal going on. Because that has nothing to do with AEW, right? All these wrestlers have vlogs. And they had the opportunity. Can you imagine? I clicked on the first one that said, Being the Elite's vlog, the All Out edition. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to click it. Is there anything, any even little nugget that you can see there? And of course, they didn't put anything from it on there. But
of course, they're going to spike the ratings, though.
It would have spiked that was their last spike.
That was their last spike. They got to do it.
Yeah. Can you imagine, though, after that, if they would have posted something? Of course, you're going to want to see, oh, who got the black eye? Or does Kenny have a bite mark on his calf?
Is that where he got bit?
That's where I think he got. I don't know.
That needs to be
okay.
Well,
if you're biting somebody on the calf, you are not in a good position.
Yeah, exactly. Something happened.
Okay, that needs to be a pitch. Someone needs to write a sitcom about HR department for the wrestling company.
Oh man,
who has to settle the disputes? Because you were talking about Iron Sheik attorney at law, Jeff.
Yes.
About who's going to defend a pro wrestler, right? Because everything is a work.
Yes.
But like that's a sitcom. That's a sitcom pitch. HR department at the wrestling show.
That is brilliant.
Call Hollywood.
You will never run out of ideas.
No, we got but there's two. And Wayne, I don't know if you caught last week. We're basically talking about in a world where it's simulated combat, but there's punching, biting, throwing chairs. Everything that happened in that actual fight happens weekly for ratings and is encouraged. How do you convince that a lawyer is just like, not that bite? Oh, there's a chair shot. No, not that chair shot. It's like, it would be impossible. So, yeah, we talked about Iron Sheik, defend him just like, we'll just break your neck, Bubba. So, but yeah, JJ said, there's no way TK is talking about this until the investigation is over. So this is like a shoot investigation, which is...
Yes.
But so this isn't for
very thorough. Everything I'm seeing, it is very thorough. They got a third party involved to do the investigation. They're telling all of the wrestlers.
Third party as in who? Like
witnessed it, not to talk to anyone.
Who's the third party though? Who would it be?
I think they would hire. I think they would hire litigators, the police? Right? I think legal. I think they would hire litigators, to actually interview all parties involved. Is what I'm guessing.
Yeah, there was a member of the AEW legal team was in the room with them. Came with the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega.
Oh my gosh!
It was a female lawyer came with them. So I don't know. I mean, did they go get legal and said, "Hey, we're about to throw down here"?
Here's my other pitch. Why not just you do it on the show and the other party is private party? Who's investigating?
There you go.
Turn it into an angle, right? That'd be great.
There's so many angles.
You were saying, Jeff, last week that they really missed their opportunity with turning this into a piece of business.
And I think the window is, like Wayne said, it's closing quickly because now that the more it becomes a shoot, the more people forget. Now, granted, there's going to be a rating spike when these guys come back. But I think people are going to be disappointed when they don't talk about it, unless they turn it into a piece of business. And maybe they do. Like, we talked about Edge and Matt Hardy and the whole love affair with Lita, and they were able to bury the hatchet quick. Vince re-signed him quicker than a hiccup. Matt Hardy was back under contract, and then the limo was coming into the back, but they were making it look like a shoot. So they still possibly can do that. But the question is, like Wayne said, and I forgot about that when you said that, it hit me when he got into that one argument with the one heckler. Could he handle it? Would he be able to press palms with these guys and say, let's make money? Right? That's what it always was. No matter what, you press palms, okay, let's make money over this. Could Punk do it?
Oh, you can make a lot of money with someone you have tension with, because that tension comes through in the ring.
It does.
The match feels different, But you gotta be willing to put it aside. You gotta put business first. And it's funny enough, Punk was talking about that, about being a professional, about doing business in that.
Yeah.
And he was the one going off worse than anybody.
Can you guys explain to me, and this will be a great little piece of tape. Can you explain to me CM Punk's heat with Colt Cabana? How did this all go down? What is going on between them?
This goes back to JJ said Hulk Hogan is the third party, so that'd be funny. Well, the investigation concluded, and all it says is, I go over in the end, brother. It's like, you weren't even involved. What are you doing? Get out of here. Get out of here, Hulkster. No, but this all stems back from CM Punk walking out on WWE, having heat with their doctor for being misdiagnosed with a staph infection, going on Colt Cabana's podcast, which was like a huge spike for his podcast, because that was the first time Punk spoke on this incident when he walked out, was on Colt Cabana's podcast. But he buried everybody. He buried Vince. He buried Hunter. He buried Stephanie. He buried the doctor. And that's what really got him, because now you're disparaging somebody who practices medicine. So they got sued separately. CM Punk started flipping the bill for Colt Cabana to pay for his legal fees. So they was paying, but then somewhere along the way, he says, you don't have to pay for my legal fees anymore. So nobody knows what happened in there, but CM Punk basically cut off Colt Cabana for a reason. And then they started going at it, and then they had heat, and then they started suing each other, and then it led to this.
Why did they sue each other?
I don't know, because of monies owed. Because CM Punk
said, they both got sued by WWE.
Yeah, and then CM Punk's like, okay, you got to pay me back the money that I fronted for the legal fees. And then Colt Cabana, I believe, said, no, I thought you agreed to pay for these. So then that's when receipts and emails and everything started flying. So it was money involved, but that's where the heat stems from. So if Colt Cabana goes on with his life, becomes a wrestler in AEW, CM Punk comes back, then all of a sudden, Colt Cabana wasn't really doing anything. His contract was quietly let to expire. When that expired, people started saying that CM Punk got him fired. But then the Bucks stood up for Colt Cabana, got him a job with Ring of Honor. So that's where this all stemmed from. And then that's when they were like, Adam called him out for not being a friend or whatever that, going into business for himself promo was. Yeah, it's a mess, but it's crazy to think that this goes back 10 years. So that's why it's like, this couldn't have been a little piece of business. This could have been a big piece of business, because there's a lot of heat. But can Punk bury that heat enough to obviously work with the Bucks? And like Mike said, book it. Mike put it best on our show last week, is like, now he is intertangled with Colt Cabana for the rest of his career, whether he likes it or not now.
They have to have a match at this point.
That's what it's like. What else do you
just
do?
Have to do it.
What else do you do now? At this point, you have to have a match, and would you not pay to see that? I would pay to see it.
They do a loser pays legal fees match.
But it's a different vibe all the time. But Wayne, let's get back into what you were talking about this over the text, because I thought this was really fascinating, because you've spoken to Shawn Michaels about this, of how the dynamic in locker rooms have changed, when you told me that story. It's like, yeah, Shawn's like, okay, where are we going out after the matches? Because that's what you always do, right? You'll go get some food or you go drinking. He's like, but now everybody kind of just goes back to their room with their, PlayStations and their Xbox, and they just game. Nobody wants to go out anymore. When did it change from, legitimate tough guys and barroom brawlers and all these like shoot fighters simulating their combat to like now the style is a lot more video game like, where it's like you got parkour experts, you got people that are great acrobats, and now they're the ones that are doing the simulated combat. Like, how did that? I think I already kind of dipped out, but you saw where that evolution changed. When did you feel like that was happening?
Well, I think it was a little bit before us. I think it stems from Vince killing the territories. And I'll tell you why. Because the territories controlled all the states. They had relationships with the state athletic commissions. They basically had carved up the United States, and anyone who ran shows outside of their little clique were considered outlaw shows.
Right.
And they attacked outlaw shows, and they blacklisted wrestlers that would work for the small outlaw shows. Yeah,
like literally sometimes attack outlaw shows.
When the territories disappeared, it left a vacuum in all the states for little shows to crop up. And we were at the very beginning of that, because when we first, finished training and was ready to go, there wasn't hardly anywhere to work.
No, there was not.
I mean, we graduated, had our first match, and then there was like a 3-month break where there was nowhere to go.
Yeah,
and then we had that show down in Laredo, and that like rejuvenated me, because I was, I couldn't believe there was no shows in Texas.
Yeah.
And then, then that created an opening, and we tasted that too. All of a sudden, there was shows everywhere across the state of Texas, and and if someone found a building and drew well, there'd be 3 and 4 more companies trying to get in.
Yeah.
And and they would ruin the town running crappy shows, because now there's an opening for what we would call we call them the Texas City Mutants between me and Jeff. But for wrestlers that are not true wrestlers, not real tough guys that are, as you brought up earlier, willing to have their ankle broke and then still come back to complete their training. These were guys that got off their couch. They weren't necessarily athletic. They weren't tough guys. They were scared half the time. Doc Holliday pissing himself in the middle of the ring.
Literally pissed himself in the ring, yep.
Yeah. Funny story on that one. Me and Jeff is sitting talking to a wrestler named Mad Dog, and Mad Dog is working with Doc Holliday that night. And Doc is one of those, he wants to know every single move, exactly what's going to happen, so he knows what to be scared of. And he comes up and he asks Mad Dog, he says, "So what are we doing tonight?" And he said, "Man, don't worry about it. We'll just call it when we get there." He comes back up 5 minutes later, and finally Mad Dog's like, "If you come up to me one more time, I'm going to beat the shit out of you." just I'll call it in the ring. You do what I say, and everything will be okay. Here comes Doc back, and I'm saying, "Doc, just leave, man." So he finally gets Mad Dog so mad that when Mad Dog goes out, makes his entrance, climbs through the ropes, no kidding, Doc Holliday just pissed himself standing in the middle of the ring.
He did.
And me and Jeff, now we're mad because we're coming after him, and we got to work in that ring, and we're screaming, "Mad Dog, throw him out of the ring, work on the ground. Don't get pissed on the mat."
He did get pissed on the mat too.
So can you confirm or deny? Did y'all have a piss match?
Yeah, exactly.
There was always funky spots on the ring, but yeah, we knew which one, because Mad Dog was no joke. I still got 4 scars on my back, courtesy of my great friend Mad Dog. He's an awesome guy though. We just saw him online. Yeah, he's a great guy. But again, another one of these guys.
Anyway,
you can start. If you got in a shoot fight, whether it was in a bar or in a ring, he's the guy that you're like, okay, don't mess with that guy. But
exactly,
he knew how to do business. So go ahead, Wayne, continue.
But anyway, the death of the territories led to an opening for shows, not so legitimate shows to crop up. And then guys were getting off their couch thinking, hey, I can be a wrestler. Then you throw in there Dave Meltzer's scoring system.
The star ratings,
and a generation, all of a sudden the internet comes out. Vince admits that wrestling is a work. And, Meltzer already had his spies in all the locker rooms. So when the internet starts cropping up with all these wrestling news sites, nobody knows how to get inside the business. So they all start sharing Dave Meltzer's, story by Dave Meltzer, Wrestling Observer newsletter. And a whole generation of fans that's learning about wrestling online thinks that Dave Meltzer is the end-all, be-all. And good for him. Great business for him. But he's never been in a ring. And his version of a 5-star match looks more like Chinese acrobats putting on a performance.
Right.
It's all about which moves hit. Not so much about the drama, telling the story, painting a picture, taking the crowd on an emotional roller coaster. It's just how many 5-star moves did they hit in that one match. Right. So a whole generation of fans grows up on that, and then those fans now have a way to get in the business because there's, in any given state, there's 100 schools that if you walk up there with cash in your hand, you're a wrestler.
Oh, yeah.
Whether you should be or not.
There's Dave Meltzer, by the way, in case the viewers don't know who Dave Meltzer is.
Dave Meltzer is Wrestling Observer newsletter. So he was started off as the underground newsletter where, unlike Pro Wrestling Illustrated, which we talked about last week with Bill Apter, which was basically working within the confines of kayfabe, Dave Meltzer came from a different background, worked outside of kayfabe. So he made it to...
yes, his gimmick was to expose...
there he is right there. I was like, wait... So yeah, because
his gimmick was to tell you what was really happening behind the scenes, and inside the business, the Wrestling Observer newsletter was known as the dirt sheets.
Dirt sheets, yeah.
Because he's spilling the dirt of the business. He'll tell you which wrestlers really like each other, which wrestlers are enemies.
He had spies.
He had spies in the locker.
So he was like the slam book of wrestling.
A little bit, yeah, exactly. But think about this: when you say dirt sheets, when you got the newsletter and. Admittedly so, when we first got in the business, I got it. I did get it because I was like, okay, I guess this is other people are doing this. It was literally like 12 pieces of paper stapled, folded together, and sent to your mailbox. Yes. And now later on, fast forward, like Wayne is saying, Dave Meltzer, who already had a journalism background, and he started covering this, and he started covering UFC around the same time when that became shoot fighting. So the rest of the media world started seeing him as an expert and a source when it came to talking about professional wrestling. When the whole Chris Benoit tragedy happened, Dave Meltzer was everywhere. Now you see him on all the talking head shows, anything to do with wrestling, they go to Dave Meltzer. So like Wayne said, he kind of raised up and became an overlord of how wrestling should look.
I can see that. I can see the media reaching out to him. They're like, do you want to interview Dave Meltzer or Dr. Death?
Yes. Standard question. I think.
Good point, Mario. Good point.
Go ahead, Wayne. Sorry.
Hell, the wrestlers would rather interview Dave Meltzer than Dr. Death. So anyway, so you have a whole generation of wrestlers coming into the business that aren't necessarily being trained properly, because by now the wrestlers who read about it online, and they're starting to train wrestlers. You literally, in some cases, have backyard wrestlers opening wrestling schools, and they've never once stepped inside a legit wrestling school and learned the craft. They just play at it in somebody's backyard.
Yeah, doing the moves without understanding the moves. So now you have a generation of wrestlers
that defines a good match by how many huge moves you hit, how death-defying it is. And while this is happening, ECW launches. And now you've got this company that's all extreme, everything, 90 miles an hour, and, it soon becomes breaking through one table isn't enough. Now you need two. That leads to two isn't enough. You need to break through three. And it just utter insanity is breaking out inside the business. And ECW is one of my favorite companies of all time, but I can recognize where the downfall started happening of the craft, of telling a story, of understanding how to take the audience on an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
So now AEW is filled with legitimate athletes that are capable of incredible feats, and their matches are that I sit on the edge of my seat just because I'm scared for one of the boys to break his neck.
Yeah.
But I describe it as AEW screams at me, because it's main event matches, every single match, everybody's hitting false finish after false finish after false finish, and it's like there are no dips in the roller coaster. Everything is at the top, and you're screaming, down a downslope that never ends. And you've got guys that would normally be undercard out there wrestling like they're working for the world title. And I understand where that could be exciting for the fans, but there is a thing where the fans can see a great match and not necessarily understand why it was great. What craftsmanship went into creating the high spots. And you can't have a high spot for an entire match. It's like if you go to see a war movie, you can't watch bombs and explosions and gunfire and bullets whizzing for 2 straight hours. There has to be a break in the action. There has to be where you get to know the character, where you see the drama, where they build when they're coming into the final battle. The tension is building, and you see that the soldiers are scared, and you're not sure who's going to survive and how it's going to turn out. That's a wrestling match. That you tell there's ebbs and flows, and then when you're booking as a booker, I learned more about wrestling as a booker than I did as an actual wrestler, because I was responsible for the entire card, and you set your card up that way. You need ebbs and flows. You can't come screaming into the main event, and every last move available has already been used. Every finish, every crazy, gimmick you can think of. You can't do that, or the main event is diminished. And I understand the thought process behind young wrestlers of, well, they don't need to be in the main event if they can't steal the show. Honestly, me and Jeff had that same opinion. We didn't care where we were on the card. So we were part of that generation. We were part of that problem, and that's partially why we can recognize what's going wrong with the business and why the ratings are starting to dip a little bit. I just saw a news thing that AEW did not fill out, and it was very obvious they had a whole lot of open seats for their last show.
Oh, man.
And so
where was that show at?
I don't know. It's the TV taping. I went on a wrestling site because I wanted to make sure I understood everything about this media scrum about an hour ago, and it was showing, the TV taping, and the crowd was only about halfway up the stands. Yeah. And this wrestling goes through highs and lows. With attendance, and it usually depends on who you have to excite the casual fan, the person who may or may not watch wrestling. Like when Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart and them was on top, it was in a low. They weren't filling out all the stadiums and stuff because it was high quality wrestling, but you didn't have those just absolute capture your imagination guys.
Yeah.
And Shawn Michaels is I've worked with him. He's a great guy, and he's probably the wrestler that influenced my style the most. But you have to admit that when Stone Cold broke and The Rock broke, attendance records were shattered. Yeah. Merchandise sales were shattered because they captured the casual fan. 95% of the locker room in WCW was the same, but when the NWO thing broke, that was when you saw people that I had never seen talk about wrestling started telling me about, man, that NWO and Goldberg and all that. It was a high spot that captured the casual fans. There's a certain number and percentage of fans that are going to show up no matter what because they're hardcore wrestling fans, and they'll take anything and everything they can get their hands on. When wrestling is at its peak, they've captured the casual fans, the needle movers, the fans that they like it if it's really interesting, but they can put it down easily and just forget about them.
The channel changers.
I think,
and that's what I think that.
No, I was just going to say, I think even more specific, the thing that really pulled people over was Hulk Hogan turning heel. That's what got me back in. I just heard offhand or saw something. It's like, Hulk Hogan's a bad guy now? What? Click.
Yeah.
Nielsen.
That's a great point.
That's the needle move that you talked about. Something to move the needle, and he realized that was a big enough shift to move the needle.
And that was something... That's something no one saw coming. Even inside the business, he was like John Cena. He was one of those, they'll never turn him. They'll never turn him. And that was huge. I mean, I never thought the Hulkster would turn heel. Good point, Mario. And that's what it takes. And when AEW broke, it was like, hey, this is fresh. This is new. They're going to give the fans what they want. And they did, and they succeeded at that. And the fans love these main event matches up and down because they want to see an epic match in every match. But again,
for like 18 months, for like 18 months, they gave us exactly what we wanted.
83 weeks, right? No, when they were at top. And I don't know where it goes from here, right? Like where does it go now? And when we talked about, like, we were part of a certain evolution, like we're looking for a way to win kayfabe back, because in the end, the people who pay for the tickets or turn on the stream need to have their belief suspended. And how you're going to do that? Like, you need to do that where you're not Peter Griffin on Family Guy. Like, I'm quite aware that I'm watching a wrestling show. Right? How do you do it where you're just like, okay, I'm going to suspend all my belief and have fun? And AEW does a really good job that people that are there, they're having a lot of fun.
And that's the thing. That's what I was going to mention. I know, like, I agree that they're like sort of on fast forward for 2 hours, but it's an entertaining 2 hours every week.
Yeah.
It is. But you're sustaining on this is new. This hasn't been done. When Raw first broke, it was like, it's not a show full of jobbers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not squash matches. And then, you're running on this is new and fresh. And I'll tell you why this particular, CM Punk, there's so many of the wrestlers in AEW that are really, really upset, because I'll tell you one of the key things you said, Mario, this is fun. And it just got serious, and you just saw an ugly side to AEW, and it has opened the door to other wrestlers complaining, and we're finding out that the locker room is divided into two camps, and they literally just had a meeting, and Jon Moxley, Chris Jericho, and Bryan Danielson just gave pep speeches to the locker room, trying to unite them, telling them, hey, remember what it used to feel like? Moxley and Jericho's been there since the beginning. Remember what it used to feel like when we were the underdogs and everybody was working towards, one goal. We were all on the same team. We've got to get back to that. Yeah. And they have just, CM Punk has just opened the door to maybe this ain't so fun. Because, that's part of what the fans were happy about is, hey, these wrestlers are having fun. This is a different company. They don't have all the toxic politics behind the stage of Vince McMahon and guys' pushes being killed for no reason. The wrestlers are running the show. Yeah. And we're getting to see what the wrestlers are going to do when they don't have, somebody throttling them down. But when you start finding out that the wrestlers are not happy, the wrestlers are upset, there's backstage fights, there's backstage politics, the elite are, and some people claiming the elite are holding people back. whatever this thing is with that other team, FTR.
Oh, yeah.
Which, of course, how could the FTR when they're holding all the titles and they've only lost 4 times or 6 times?
And this is also compounded by the fact that the other wrestling company across the street, the bigger wrestling company that kind of sucked to work at, that was super corporate, and the boss sucked, and like the assistant manager was super cool and would get you high like in the stairway, and you hung out and y'all were cool, and you thought he was going to be manager someday. Eventually, he was going to be in charge, and the job would be even cooler. But instead, he got fired and sent away, and the job got way shittier. And then all of a sudden, the super cool stoner manager came back.
Yeah.
And now he's running it. And all your buddies are like, oh, it's so awesome over here now, bro.
Yeah. And all those, you're right. And all those people who went to, the competing place are now wondering, should I stay up? Because there's from all reports, and we've seen it. So we got SummerSlam and Clash at the Castle. All had great attendance, but also all had glowing reviews from top to bottom on the card. And then the more you saw Triple H's effect. I don't know if you saw this, just happened yesterday. NXT got its black and gold back, which was a big sticking point because everyone's like, Vince took away NXT from Triple H and they gave it all the colors and 2.0. And then all of a sudden he's like, no, we're going to go back to what worked. And people are talking about how walking around in the locker room, everything feels different. Everybody feels energized. So there's a shift. If this was a war, another wrestling war, there was a huge shift and very bad timing for AEW, who was gaining ground on WWE. And now WWE, the behemoth, which I'll give Mike credit, he predicted this. Don't sleep on them. It's like, okay, we won the Wednesday night war, and now all of a sudden, well, that was actually the Wednesday night battle. The war continues, and now you're
like, what war? What are you talking about? That was nothing. I didn't even know we were in a fight.
Bring back Poppy. But it's a really...
You were shooting on me? I thought you just wanted to have a good match.
Oh, that was a great story. Yeah, Wayne.
Let's hear it. What is it?
Good, Wayne. You got to tell it.
We were working a tag match down in South Texas, and the actual promoter was a wrestler, and we were out there, and somehow I think I got him fired up, and when we walked through the curtain, he come up to me and got in my face, and he said, "That's what you get. I was shooting on you for a reason," and I didn't know. I wasn't trying to be a badass. I just literally didn't know, and I turned around and said, "You were shooting? I thought you just wanted to have a good
match." Oh, there's more stories than that, and yeah, we literally in those old locker rooms, you weren't fighting for your life like I'm sure in the older ones, but you weren't getting any kind of recognition for what kind of moves you can do in the ring. It was more about how are you going to help the card? How are you going to help the company? So that's when we started getting the idea. It's like, well, let's try this one move. We had so many times it was like, can we try this spot? They're like, nah. It's like, nah, save that shit for TV. No, we're not doing that. Like, can you imagine, like, what would these guys do in AEW if they had a wrestler come in calling off their spots? I'm just trying to get my shit in, man. Like, you barely would get anything. It's like, hey, you literally don't have to do anything. Just move out of the way. I want to show people that I can flip over like this. Nah, save that shit for TV.
Well, everything is on TV now. There's no AEW has no house shows.
Yeah, no.
I mean, a house show means it's on YouTube, but that's still TV.
Yeah.
Right? Do you still call that TV, you think, right?
Yeah, no, I don't think you're absolutely right. There may be no house shows at all.
So there's no dark shows for them to try their shit.
Man, it's gonna be an interesting.
Yeah, but see, that's the whole point. Like Billy Gunn I saw an interview with Billy Gunn where he was telling a lot of the young guys, you need to pace yourself. He said, if you want to have a 40-year career like I have, you can't go out on these indie shows in front of 100 people and have a death match where you almost end your career 6 times in the match. They said, save it for TV. And as a young wrestler, you're like, oh, hell no. If there's 5 people in the crowd, I'm going to give them the best show of their life. And then when you get older and you start feeling the aches and the pains, you start looking back on all the bumps that you did that was in front of nobody and didn't help you any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And so if I was working with kids, I wouldn't be calling off moves so much, but I would be telling them, hey, on a dark match, unless you're, now if you're in AEW, you gotta perform to a certain level. The crowd won't put up with it, but you're also trying to impress your bosses. But if you're on an indie show and there's no scouts, there's nobody there, learn to work the crowd.
Yeah.
Learn to, because when I was working with Shawn in San Antonio, I was, the show was highly controlled. He had his students there, and Bryan Danielson's there, Brian Kendrick's there, Lance Cade was there. I mean, there was guys on the way up, and the shows were ultra controlled. And they wanted to know every move in the match, and Shawn and them, was wanting to, okay, what are you doing in your match, reviewing the matches and stuff. Well, we finally broke out and started doing spot shows and stuff. And I had been given this gimmick where it was like I was insane. Like I'd lost my mind. I'd had a breakdown, and I was leading mine and Jeff's friend Randall Reeder to the ring in the between us very famous hockey mask.
Yes.
And
Randall Reeder, also known as, what is it, cock meat sandwich guy?
Yes.
Exactly.
The cock meat sandwich guy.
That's right.
Yeah, I was expected to stay in character and be psycho all the time. Well, then we got out and we started doing spot shows, and Shawn wasn't there. There was some guys not there, and I cut loose one night, and I started working with the crowd, and I got the crowd all fired up. And when I got to the back, the kids all come running up to me and started going, oh my God, you were working the crowd. Can you tell us how to do that? How do you do that? Because they were being trained for TV wrestling. They were being trained not to work one-on-one with the guy in the front crowd.
Right.
And Shawn was preparing them to go on to bigger and better things, but they weren't being exposed to a show where you learn to work the crowd. And the thing about it is, if you can work the crowd, then you can work the camera.
Right.
And it's all, in the end, it all comes down to facial expressions. If a wrestler can sell the match with his face, the wrestler is going to have a certain position on the card. If you look at how expressive The Rock, John Cena, Stone Cold, all the wrestlers of the past that were absolute legends, they sold with their face. They told you what was going on, whether they were excited because they were on top on offense, or whether they were selling the agony of defeat.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to. And kids, that's the craftsmanship of the business that the kids are missing out on now, where they're so concentrated on their moves, and then somebody like CM Punk comes along, which is known throughout the business amongst real wrestlers as a very, very average worker. I mean, very average. Nothing special about him. First off, he throws noogie punches. Noogies. I hate noogie punches.
What's a noogie punch?
He does. He throws a noogie punch where he like bounces the bottom of his palm and his forearm across the top of the guy's head. It doesn't even look like a punch. It's like, I don't know. I call them noogies because you make a fist, but you don't hit them with a fist, and it's weird. But it doesn't matter, because he grabbed the mic, he sat down on the stage, and he gave you something you'd never heard before. Yeah. And he had the attitude. Jeff, you said there was a documentary where all the wrestlers raving, and then were saying, like, this guy walked in and acted like he was the greatest worker on the planet, and he was barely average.
Yeah.
But he had that attitude.
Yep.
And that attitude, it gets you a long, long way. If you believe it, people will start believing in you.
Yes.
But then he can work a mic. And I'm here to tell you right now, this, as far as I know, in my lifetime, wrestling is never, ever going to change from, it is so much more important what you do on the stick or the mic than what you do in your high-flying moves.
Yeah.
The high-flying moves are nice, they're exciting, but the stars grab the mic and capture your attention. What did Roddy Piper ever do that was so special in a ring? He had great timing. He had great storytelling, but Roddy Piper could grab a mic and the crowd would be transfixed.
Yeah.
I don't even recall Roddy Piper's finisher. What the hell was it?
He didn't really have one.
Did he have a finisher?
No, he didn't really. Like, he did a sleeper for a little while, but no, he didn't have a finisher because, like Wayne said, he can grab the mic and he can either start a riot or he can sell the building out.
Didn't he legit get shot?
He got stabbed. Yeah, he might have got
shot by a fan.
I don't remember if he got shot too.
Well, he almost died in Los Angeles when he lost a match that said he would play the Mexican with Guerrero, national anthem with his bagpipes, and he went out there and he started playing La Cucaracha.
Oh yeah, and they almost started.
Where did he do that?
That was in L.A.
In Los Angeles.
Yeah,
in the 70s.
And the crowd was half Hispanic at least.
Oh yeah. He was working one of the Guerreros, right? He's working one of the Guerreros, so that just added on top of that. But again, and that's why what you're saying is resonating so true, because besides this, what just happened, MJF was all anyone was talking about, because that's exactly what he does. And now he's even getting to the point where he calls it out. It's like, I'm not working like some of these other marks. Like he's pushing it a little bit because he grabs the mic. He talks, he finds a way, like whether he's referencing WWE or you can tell that he's shooting on people in the locker room, but still he's keeping himself strong and not crapping on people too much. And that's why and he's talking about the bidding war of 2024. Like he's already working it, that I'm going to be here for a couple of years and it's all going to, anybody's going to be talking about. And that's why Cody, WWE, before this whole Triple H thing, Cody coming back to WWE, the best business they did in years. And it was all just what he said on the mic. Like, of course, we know he can work, and that's like the added benefit because these guys can also work. But what he says on the mic, you're getting back to why Paul Heyman's still one of the best. You're getting back to why Jim Cornette's not even in the business anymore, and he's got 250,000 people on YouTube listening because he knows how to work his gimmick. He knows how to work that mic.
Jim Cornette is working a gimmick.
Yeah.
Working a wrestling gimmick. He's telling his truths.
He's doing a shock jock gimmick.
Yes. And I guess that's how he always was.
Yeah. But he's in the Jim Cornette gimmick.
Yeah.
But these are hard-won nuggets of wisdom that we're sharing right here. Me and Jeff were the guys being told that ECW bullshit will never get over in Texas. The guy that Jeff was speaking about, God rest his soul, Bubba Monroe, his father, a legendary wrestler in across the South, especially in Memphis. And just a side note, Bubba's dad, Sputnik Monroe, was responsible for desegregating wrestling amongst the fans in Memphis. He was a huge draw, and he saw that the black African-American, and there was open seats on the floor, and he went to the promoter and he said, I will not go to the ring unless you bring those people down and put them in the good seats. There's seats open. Let them have the seats. And he stood his ground, and he paid a price. The police harassed him. They arrested him for being in an African-American restaurant, but he desegregated.
He did, yeah.
But I digress. His father, Sputnik, pulled me and Jeff aside after a match in here in Houston, and he grabbed us and he said, "It says wrestling on the marquee, not your fucking flippity flops."
Yeah.
So I don't want to be a hypocrite. We were doing stuff at the time that everybody was saying, "Oh, that's not wrestling. That's acrobatic stuff." But we learned the lesson and we understand what's happening.
Yeah.
Because there is a difference between you, the wrestler, being over and your moves being over.
Yeah.
And Jeff has had to suffer through this story many times, I'm sure, but I tuned in one night a year or two ago to AEW. And I caught it right at the end, and there was a tag match in there. And they were doing some of the biggest, their moves was making ECW look tame. I know I watched the guy break his neck about 4 times in that match, and he just kept getting up. But one of the problems that hit me is they would drop a huge move, and then when the guy would go to the top rope to do the 10th finish in the match, the other wrestler stood up, walked over, and laid down in position. Like, he didn't drag him into position. They're just like, they're helping each other get from spot to spot, and it's like, what the hell is that? But the crowd was going nuts for their moves. The crowd, every time someone would get their head, jammed through the ropes and chairs flying and every one of those psycho spots, the crowd would go nuts. But when the finish happened, and I don't remember who it was, but they raised their hand and they had belts in their hand, the crowd was silent. Everybody was sitting in their seat, and they were not moving. And they had been super loud for each move, but the crowd would die down between the moves, and then they'd come back up for the move. But they didn't cheer for the wrestlers at the end. And the next match was the main event, and Chris Jericho walks out, and the crowd started singing his song. I guess it was one of Fozzie's songs or something, and the crowd was singing his song. And he was looking around, like you could see he was touched. And they went to commercial break. And they came back from commercial, and the crowd was still singing. And they cut the music, and the crowd kept singing, and they couldn't bring the next wrestler out because the crowd wouldn't keep singing or quit singing. That's the difference between a wrestler being over and the wrestler's moves being over. When you're over because of your moves, you get a quick pop, and then it dies. When a wrestler comes to the ring that is actually over, the crowd won't stop.
Yeah.
The crowd is into their entrance and won't let the next entrance start. That's the difference. That's when you are over and not your moves.
And that's when William Regal, he said it. He's like, I know you're going to be over with the crowd the minute you come through the curtain. And he's like, in that split couple of seconds when you're at the top of the stage, I know if you're going to be over. And if you think about it, he just came, and he's perfect, right? He'd come through with that face right away, right?
William Regal is a genius.
Oh, yeah. He's a legit, straight-up genius.
Any wrestler, and I'm talking whoever's in main event in any company in the world right now that doesn't listen to William Regal is an idiot.
Yeah. No, and I think they are. I think TK, Tony Khan, he's got a ton of great wrestling minds in the back, and now he has William Regal in that roster. I think they're going to start convincing these, and you can see the difference. You can see that some of these guys are taking it to heart, and they're learning to work those mic skills, and you can tell who is and who isn't. But when you hit it perfectly, it's a facial business before you even say a word. Just go to Giphy and type in wrestling, and you'll see all the ones that work, right? That lasted throughout the ages, right?
Yes.
Rock is up there. Like you said, Stone Cold is up there. Even Edge is up there. Edge is in there with like his facial expression. Shawn is in there But even before that, right, if you go back to the superstar eras, you had Macho Man and you had Hogan. They were all about the facials. Roddy Piper was all about the facials. Those facials are selling the crowd your character before they even know if you can work. Just walking to the ring. So that you nailed it on that point for sure. So. Well,
absolutely, yeah.
I know we kept you longer than I do appreciate it, man. We're hit that 1 hour. I don't know if you want to grab a water or grab an agua or something.
Should we do a quick break real quick?
Yeah. Wayne, do you want to stick around? We're going to be talking about some Disney, or how are you feeling?
I can stick around.
All right, cool. Well, so we're just going to take a quick fake break and grab a drink, and we'll be right back. What does the fox say?
Ha! Ching-a-ching-ching-ching-ching-ching-ching. Heidi, 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 ho. Heidi, 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 ho.
I love London. What's worse, the I Love You computer virus or the Black Plague?
Black Plague was much worse, yeah.
The I Love You computer virus, without a doubt.
More people died, I think.
We lost parts of our body, fingers fell off.
I'm gonna
have to say Black Plague, because I can just get a new computer.
Who do you have to behead around here to get some good Wi-Fi?
Probably the Lord of AT&T.
Wi-Fi? What's Wi-Fi? Get a good wife?
What's more secure, SSL or Mordor?
Carbonite.
One does not simply hack SSL.
What's better, a long sword or a broadsword?
Oh.
It's all about the dagger. Size doesn't matter.
Can we not have, like, a sword with multi?
You get what the genetics give you.
I'm here with her. You can't figure that one out.
Okay, no sword. Have you ever tried the horseman's prick?
Yeah, but I'm not allowed in that club anymore.
Yes, I have. Yes, that was my second wife. The horseman's prick? No, I don't even want to go there.
Well, my husband's listening.
Sir?
Oh, I heard that so wrong.
It's a medieval weapon. What you guys think it was?
I'm not.
Take some mead. What is the holy grail of information security?
HTTPS.
That bird up there.
All I can say is that my cup runneth over on that one.
What is the best place for me to learn how to wield my jousting stick like Sir Mix-a-Lot?
Oh, Seattle.
Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Keep an eye out for that booty.
God, I like big butts and I cannot lie.
The best thing to do is drink a lot of this brew.
No, meat. Meat is way better than wine.
Tell us about your outfit.
So this is Butterfree, or at least my take on it.
What's the best thing that's ever happened to you here in Sherwood Forest?
Boobs. There is lots of really happily clothed women with very large boobs.
I have no idea. I don't write this stuff.
Sir, I'll give you $1 to come back here and watch you do a sit-up. One sit-up.
Iron Maiden or Maid Marian?
Well, Iron Maiden has the best drugs.
Iron Maiden all the way.
It all depends kind of what you're into.
Maid Marian, she was.
Maid Marian, you got a shout out. Yeah, woo woo. Socket wrench or suck it wench?
Good luck to you.
Oh, I'm good. All right, things got a little out of hand here at Sherwood Forest, but it's cool. Enjoy Spice World, and I'll probably see you next time if I can get out of this thing. Man, those medieval people know how to build weapons. I can't get out.
Want a beer? Mm-hmm. You know, this is really an interesting six-pack. See how it's completely covered? See the ends? Covered. Mm-hmm. That so light won't get in. Light can spoil beer. Uh-huh. And this is good beer, so they don't want light messing around with it.
Well, in that case, why don't we turn off the lights?
Where are you going? To get a Stroh's. That's about a 200-mile hike through heavy snow. I know. If you think of it, get two. From one beer lover to another's Stroh's.
I don't know what to do. What would you do if you were me? America's got this beer. It's called Stroh's Light, and it's fire brewed. You know, it's not like any other beer. So I called the State Department and say, let's make a trade. Our cigars for your Stroh's Light. They say, Fidel, you're going to have to forget about it.
It's not the same as other lights. It's fire-brewed Stroh's Light.
We're only 90 miles away. We can't even get a decent beer.
All right, come back to you.
Alrighty then. We are back. We still got Wayne on the line. We're gonna switch gears a little bit. We're gonna switch from corporate wrestling to corporate entertainment. So last week, if you have not heard, it was the big D23 announcements. Then there was a lot of drops. It wasn't just Marvel. We were watching for the Marvel. We were watching for Star Wars, which Wayne Wikipedia definitely will appreciate. But there's some other stuff here. So we're going to just make this spot all about all the 2022 D23 announcements for your listening pleasure. All right. So you guys ready?
You have like a list or what?
I got a list. Yeah, I got a list. Some of them will just...
How many is there?
What's the proper number for a shit ton? There's a lot. So some of them we'll cruise through. We'll just drop it, but we're going to break it into business units within Disney. So we'll hit Pixar, we'll hit Marvel, we'll hit Star Wars, and we'll hit Walt Disney Studio proper. So does that sound like a plan?
Nice.
First one, since it is Halloween season, it is perfect. Hocus Pocus 2. The trailer dropped for that. I don't know if you guys... Hocus Pocus is one of those next generation... Like, we grew up with the Friday the 13th, Halloween. Those were our go-tos, But this next generation is all about Hocus Pocus and Halloween Town.
Didn't we go to a screening for that at a corporate thing?
Hocus Pocus, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we did that because they're like, you guys are getting a little bit bloody with some of the horror movies you're choosing. So can we show Hocus Pocus?
They were like, Beetlejuice is too scary.
Beetlejuice.
And Wayne, that's what we were talking about earlier. It's just like, you're at work. This is a safe space. No conjuring demons by saying their name 3 times. Let's just get Bette Midler in there. So, but actually I did I finally, I'd never seen it before. And I had to go see, like, what is all the hype about? And it was fine. It wasn't bad. Very, Sabrina the Teenage Witch type show. Totally fine. But it was big enough that I'm not surprised that Disney, they opened up their wallets and they're going to be bringing in a sequel that's going to be dropping next month, just in time for Halloween.
Is there a lack of courage in Hollywood?
Oh,
I mean, they're rebooting everything. They keep going back to the well of things from the 80s and 90s. Are they scared to try new ideas?
Oh, 1,000%.
Short answer, yes.
Mario was just talking about that. He got, big IP fatigue. That he's like, he just wanted to see something original, something different. But the bigger the company, the bigger the reboot, for sure. And sometimes it works, and sometimes you're like, okay, cash grab. So we'll see if that is true for that.
But to be fair, sometimes the cash grab works out.
Yeah, I mean,
because I got to tell you, I did not expect to like Creed so much. When I heard about Creed, I just smelled instant cash grab. I was like, no way.
Creed or Creed 2?
Well, Creed, because I thought Rocky Balboa was a great ending for the series.
I love that last one.
And then Creed came out, and I started seeing the trailers, hearing about it. I was kind of like, what? No. But yeah, it was great.
And then it worked. It worked well. Creed 2 is very much in the vein of Cobra Kai when they're continuing that Rocky 4 story, which I really did dig that. So Disenchanted, I don't know if you guys are Enchanted fans. That one dropped. Peter Pan and Wendy. Haunted Mansion, which I feel like they tried Haunted Mansion before with Eddie Murphy a little bit after Pirates of the Caribbean, and I feel like it didn't work.
It's the same franchise?
Yeah, same franchise. Haunted Mansion.
Is the one you're talking about, is that with the Muppets?
Is it one? Oh, is there one with the Muppets? There was
one with the Muppets.
Oh, there was a Muppet drop that was coming too. Maybe it isn't.
There's a Muppet movie coming out?
Yes, the Muppet Museum.
The Haunted Mansion.
Yep.
Yeah.
In the Haunted Mansion. So it's going to be, well, Wayne and I would be driving. I remember where we were driving, Wayne. I think my son was just born and you're in the I was in a minivan that had the DVD player in the black. And like, Wayne, get out. He's like, no, man, you got season 1 of the Muppet Show playing. I'm laughing my ass off back here. That was good.
Can I ask you a question? What is D23 anyway? Like, what? I know the event. Like, I see the updates, but why does it happen? What is it?
I think it's basically their company's announcement. But now that they own so many brands, they're turning it into a Comic-Con.
Like they're starting their own Comic-Con?
Yeah, they're
Disney-Con.
They hijacked Comic-Con, and that's why Feige only did half the announcements and the other half that he saved for D23. But it's supposed to be just for stockholders. But now they're like, no, we can use this hashtag to create internet hype. So it's a little bit of a hijack. And speaking of, they're going to the well. They're going for Mufasa the Lion King, Snow White, The Little Mermaid, IRL too, not animated. So Snow White is going to have Gal Gadot. And The Little Mermaid, I don't know, I'm not familiar with the actress that they booked in there. Halle Berry's going to be in there, too.
It is not Halle Berry. I had this. It's
Hey, Halle Berry. Different?
it's Hale Bailey or something. It's not Halle Berry. I read it the same way before. Yeah.
I got fooled.
Yeah.
Because I was like, is that going to be a sequel to Swordfish? Right? The whole fish. There's a... So that's it for the...
Is there an original idea on your list?
Not in that. No, under Walt Disney Studios. No, you are familiar with every property.
Here's the thing: let's put on a big convention and announce movies that are coming out that already came out 20 years ago.
Yeah. So I don't know if they're relying on. And Pixar was very strict early of that. No, we're not going to do sequels. We have enough creative ideas. And then they started doing sequels. Like, I don't know. That Toy Story 2 was pretty good, though.
I don't know. I like money, though.
Can't believe you like money, too. So, but that's it for the Walt Disney Studio announcements proper. Then we move to Pixar. Elemental. So that is...
Is that Sherlock Holmes?
It's Elemental, my dear Sherlock. First look at Ember and Wade, played by Leia Lewis and Marmaduke Athey from Disney and Pixar. So
Did you say Marmaduke?
It looks like that was my name to say the name as fast as possible without insulting any mispronunciations because of my Popeye accent. Pixar may not have released any trailers, but that doesn't mean the studio was lacking. Elemental is a film about the residents of different elements who come together, which premiere on June 16th. So I don't know if that's going to be a takeoff on Captain Planet. He's our hero, going to take pollution down to zero, where the elements come together. Don't know. They also...
Maybe it's just like the periodic table.
It looks like they're literally going to go for the elements, but...
A still shot of the periodic table.
I mean, have Pixar had any misses? The closest you can have... What was their miss?
I mean, I think they've had a lot of misses by this point. They've done like 50 movies.
Yeah.
They're not all Toy Story.
Can't all be winners.
Haven't they,
what about like Cars 2? Was that good?
Yeah, that's true. Didn't they do Planes, a Cars spinoff?
Yeah, they did like Planes. I mean, there's stuff in there that is not good. Has to be.
Very possible.
Except for Coco, that's great.
Haven't they run off their main creative force?
I thought they did.
I believe the guy that was the driving force creatively, they got rid of him and he's opened with a new studio.
Yes, he was their Kevin Feige, right?
I think he sexually assaulted somebody. Maybe.
Oh, though.
They're like, get out of here.
That.
Yeah, you better get out of here. Hey, hose that guy off the porch. The toucher. Get him the hell out of here.
Well, that would explain that.
Oh, yep. Last week he got canceled. They released something called, it looks like it's going to be a baseball Pixar movie called Win or Lose. It's a series as with Will Forte as Coach Dan. Will Forte is awesome. Last Man on Earth is one of the most underrated shows that was ever on TV.
That's pretty good.
That should have been up there with Ted Lasso, which is also phenomenal.
I would like to see the Pixar ideas that got rejected.
Oh, yeah. That sounds like an SNL script.
Like what is getting rejected? Because like their concept sounds crazy enough. Like what is not making the cut? I'd like to see those.
Yeah, these people are like elements. Okay, cool. Keep going.
Got it.
Oh, yes. There's another one called Elio, a boy who finds himself transported across the galaxy and mistaken for an intergalactic ambassador for planet Earth. So I remember it took a while to release a Pixar film. Now they're popping out a couple each year. And then finally...
It's about a ham sandwich that goes looking for his father. And he's destined to be king.
What do you know?
Think?
You're reading Jeff's list, aren't you?
Mario laughs because he knows that. Wayne, I don't know if we told this. We do have a pitch somewhere that is just like, what if a guy turns into a sandwich?
And it started as a VCR.
It started off as a VCR tape and then became a sandwich. Well, how does that happen? I don't know. He goes into a refrigerator and the sandwich says, "Don't eat me," and he defies it and he eats it anyway. It's like, I try to tell you.
Take that shit to Netflix.
And then finally, for the last thing that came up for Pixar, they did go for old reliable. Inside Out 2 was dropped, so that is going to be coming out.
I heard that it's going to be like a teenager.
Oh, yeah. So
it's going to be like really awkward.
Okay. Mario is a human Pixar movie generator. Maybe Pixar should make a movie about that. They just draw each other in the studios like we need another idea. It's like, go to the Pixar generator. Mario's in the back. It's like, what if the guy's a sandwich?
Better yet, a VCR.
Yeah. All right. And then next up, we had a couple of other Walt Disney animation, which is, I guess, their other in-house animation that's not Pixar. It's had a couple of hits.
Like Snow White, you mean?
No. Oh, yeah, not the OG one. I guess this is their digital or CGI one. So Zootopia Plus is coming out, and a couple of ones I can't. Ijua, Strange World, Wish. So they are sticking to their guns, because when you think of Disney, you do think of animation. Even before Pixar, you're absolutely right. You had, Tugboat Willie or whatever that Mickey Mouse was whistling on the boat. I mean, it goes way back. So they've rolled the dice on a lot of stuff when it comes to animation.
Do they, though? You just named like 20 things that have already been made before.
So now they're just like, well, let's just buy original studios and then make them make our stuff.
Let's make Snow White again.
That's Favreau, man. Like, ever since he made the one, was it Jungle Book? Which one was the big hit where it's just like, let's make our show in real life? And now that's all they do.
Yeah, I mean, why not take the job, right?
Yeah.
Work is work.
Work is work. All right, let's jump. So
I just want to work.
I just want to work.
Have you seen the Snow White pictures, though?
Oh, as Gal Gadot? No.
They do it live action, but it looks like the cartoon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that how you
That's
say
something,
her
right?
name?
That's a thing.
That is a thing. What'd you say, Wayne?
Is that how you really say her name? Because I've never heard it before. Is it Gail Gadot?
Gail Gadot? I don't know. That's how I say it. I don't know if that's right or not. Gail Gadot.
I've never
I'm
really
pretty sure
heard
that's
her
right.
or anyone say it. Is it Gadot? I thought it would be Godot, but I don't know. It does look like Gadot.
Maybe it is Godot.
Maybe it is Godot. You might be right. Obviously, I can't pronounce, because I called Steamboat Willie Tugboat Willie because I had wrestling on the mind. So Mike corrected me out there. Tugboat Willie.
Oh, geez. He's going to start calling it Bugboat Willie.
Bugboat Willie, yeah, because we had two RIPs, but legendary stories with Wichita Willie and Tugboat Taylor. Yep. So somehow I combined Steamboat Willie into Tugboat Willie. Hey, Willie, those pecans and those waffles?
Yeah.
Oh, man. All right, so we got Wikipedia on the line. Let's jump to the LucasFilms announcement. All right, so we all know Andor comes out. It's delayed. So now it is premiering next week on September 21st with a 3-episode drop. They released the final trailer for that. And I think this one's going to be received really well, because Rogue One is considered probably the best film in the lot of Disney era Star Wars films. You guys agree with that?
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Sure.
They took the one throwaway line in Star Wars about how people made sacrifices to get these plans, and they turned it into a great story. So, and then added a Darth Vader hallway scene. Boom. But I guess the stakes were real, right? So is it going to be affected a little bit knowing how the story ends for Andor? Was he a strong enough character in Rogue One that you're interested in seeing where his story origin was born?
I didn't see the Andor trailer. What's it about?
It's going to show how I think it's going to be pretty much the launch of the Rebel Alliance. We've all had hints around it, right, in the Dave Filoni's Rebels cartoon, and they've touched on it a little bit, but they're going to go back, I believe, to the origin of the Rebel Alliance and how he was one of the big parts of launching that. Leading up into how things ended up for him in Rogue One.
Well, I tell you what, in the Rogue One, there's no lightsabers or Jedis or anything like that. Does that work as a series?
That's what we're going to find out, because, yeah, they're likening this to a spy series, an espionage series, the underground takeover of a hostile government more than it is about the Force. It's going to be more about, like Wayne, we always talk about this. This one's going to be more about the wars in Star Wars and less about the Force and the wills.
I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be gritty. I think it has a different feel. I think the Andor, I think his character is different because he wasn't necessarily likable.
Yeah, good point.
That to me and Rogue One, neither of the lead characters were really likable, and that was cool. and they died. They sacrificed at the end. It wasn't the typical happy send-off to a Star Wars movie. The entire movie just had a different feel, and the stakes were, a little bit higher, a little bit more in your face, and the characters were ugly and dirty, and they weren't. And I just think that this is going to carry that on. At least I hope it does. I hope this is a gritty, a little bit more hardcore of a Star Wars tale, and I'm looking forward to it.
If the trailer is any indication, it's going to basically be that. It's going to take off a prequel version, but that same type of dirty, used universe that was introduced in Rogue One, that came from the OT trilogy. I think we're going to see that, so it is going to be good. Next up from LucasFilms, not Star Wars film, but a Star Wars actor in there. We got Willow. Willow is coming back. It's going to be a series. I think it's going to be, because no good IP goes unrevived in the world of Disney. Lucasfilm making a sequel series to the George Lucas produced 88 high fantasy film Willow. The series will begin streaming on November 30th. So we're going to get, I think this is in the future, so we're not going to get the Val Kilmer Mad Mardigan character, but we are going to get the main Willow character he also plays Wicket, and he plays a lot of extras in Star Wars. Were you guys Willow fans?
I remember liking Willow. Remember seeing it often on cable. I couldn't tell you what it was about right now. I don't recall.
Yeah, I remember the same. I remember liking it, and my wife loved it, and so I'm looking forward to it.
I can't picture Val Kilmer in it. I can't visualize him in it.
Mad Mardigan? I just feel like it was one of the main quotes that always stuck in my head, where he's kind of a little bit like a mercenary drunk, but he was a great swordsman, and he had that "you are great" line that always kind of stuck in my head. Even though it had mixed reviews, this was Ron Howard's first foray into Lucasfilms, right? There was always he was on the short list, I believe, with Spielberg for Return of the Jedi, and obviously later on he would take over for Solo, but this was a Lucas Ron Howard production, which was a big deal in 1988. And having Warwick Davis and Billy Barty, so two legendary, little actors. This is perfect for a Disney streaming event. Do you want to see Willow 2 in the theater? Probably not. But a Willow series? Yeah, I'm in.
I agree. I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be lighthearted, kind of take you away from your worries of the day. I look forward to it.
Yeah, I do want to see, Jay, we're going to need that Val Kilmer cameo. That would be great. Be the hero, die the villain, or be Val Kilmer and watch all of his movies remakes after losing your voice. That is factual, yeah. Oh, looking for an Ewok movie sequel next. Remember the Ewok special on ABC? I feel like that.
They did a couple of movies, right?
Yeah, I feel like that's just as hidden as the Star Wars Christmas special. So I don't know if we get to see that. But yeah, Warwick Davis, he's very synonymous with BTS around Star Wars. Next up actually came with a little bit of bad news and a little bit of good news. So we did get the announcement for Star Wars The Bad Batch Season 2, but it is delayed until January 4th, which I think...
Of course.
Yeah, they did delay it, but but Bad Batch Season 1 was great. It did a really good job of keeping the lore alive with animation. It had the Dave Filoni feel because, there's a reason why Clone Wars and Rebels stay a part of Star Wars canon, because Filoni sat at the learning tree of Lucas, and Bad Batch did a really good job of creating that. And plus to see what happened to the clones after the fall. Right after the fall of the Republic, and then the Empire took over. I mean, I think it's good. And then to have the tie-in with Alpha and Omega with Boba Fett, I just think it was great. But what was also good, Wayne, was the I can't think of the names now, but just the way she said it. Right, she said all the names.
Oh, Hunter,
not Hunter. It was Hunter.
Was there any Star Wars movies announced?
No, and that was the big deal, that they literally made no. And the rumor was they were going to announce the Taika Waititi Star Wars films were next, and they were worried about there was a little bit, not negative backlash after Love and Thunder, but it wasn't loved as much as they thought it would. And I think they're like, okay, let's chill. We're winning with the series still. Let's just stick with that. So no films announced.
I think the backlash was pretty negative. Did you see that clip with Taika Waititi where he was like burying his own movie and like calling out the bad special effects?
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. I feel like he was so beloved, and then there was a couple of things that came out and made people like asking Natalie Portman is like, I'm going to do a Star Wars movie. Would you like to be in one? Wouldn't that be cool? And she say something about the motherfucking prequels, bitch. So I feel like, that got a little bit of heat. So they did not announce it. So we're going to have to accept Bad Batch.
Before we move on from Bad Batch, thank you for coming back to it. Did you get emotional when they destroyed Camino?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was a huge deal. That was a huge deal for anybody who loved anything to do with the prequels, to see such one of the few iconic planets in the George Lucas, lore get destroyed. It was a big deal. It was a huge deal, especially tying into Mandalorian and how they're getting into cloning. You're like, oh, cool. Maybe they're going to go back to that. Nah, we're going to blow that up. I got very emotional. Very emotional.
Oh, that was such a powerful scene. It was like losing a piece of yourself watching that Tapoka city being destroyed.
Oh
my goodness.
Yeah, so they pull, those animated shows do a fantastic job of balancing. Your kids can watch this. This is light-hearted humor, and then, oops, surprise, there's a dark saber through somebody's chest.
Exactly.
So, but the good news that came out of this, bad news, was the delay, January 4th. Good news, 16 episodes. That's going to carry us for a while.
Yes.
So, sticking in the animation field, this one is getting a lot of buzz, and they're just shorts. It's called Star Wars Tales of the Jedi. Tales of the Jedi.
That's the one I'm waiting for.
Oh, man.
What is that about?
So, Tales of the Jedi will include 6 standalone parable episodes following Ahsoka, Count Dooku in equal measure, and will debut on October 26th. So, we're going to get a young Count Dooku, a young Mace Windu that is going to be voiced by Samuel L. Jackson, and a young Qui-Gon Jinn that is also going to be voiced by Liam Neeson. So this is going to be very lore heavy, and it's going to keep the canon alive. And you're also going to see the origin stories of arguably a character that is just as important to all of Star Wars that was introduced in an animated version was Ahsoka. And now you're going to get an earlier version of that, and it looks great.
It looks incredible to me.
Yeah.
And I believe that Count Dooku is a very underserved character, and to get to see him as a Jedi Master with a Padawan, I believe that's going to be incredible.
Yeah. And
just it's going to be 3 with Ahsoka and Anakin, and 3 with Dooku and correct?
Yep, exactly.
Have you heard anything? Where they're going with Ahsoka and Anakin?
No, but I did hear that Anakin is going to be in that as well. So you're going to see a lot of the stuff that, obviously they couldn't show every battle in the Clone Wars, but we are going to get that. So I think it's going to be really lore heavy to see how they tie this together. Because right now they're trying to piece all the stories together, and it's very easy to piece the early stuff together, right? Because that's what Lucas did. It's like poetry. It rhymes. Very easy to piece it together. Now the challenge is Filoni. How is he going to tie the fractured sequel trilogy to the original trilogies? Because make no mistake, he has to do that. He's going to have to build that bridge. So it's going to have to be mixing prequel and mixing sequel and finding a way to do that. And I think, Grogu, Mandalorian, and the stuff that happens with Ahsoka and Andor is going to be what's going to be the bridge that's going to hopefully salvage a little bit to at least make it feel like, the sequel trilogy is there and make some stuff make sense.
Nice.
And
I have a question for y'all.
Go for it.
You're on a deserted island. You can only have the movies or the animated catalog. Which do you go with?
Oh, man. Well, you almost gotta say the animated catalog because you're like, that's gonna give you more.
I would go with the animated catalog because I haven't seen that many of them.
Yeah.
I'd have something to watch. I don't watch A New Hope over and over.
Yeah, I think we would have to go with the animated catalog because it's got the mix of the humor, it's got the mix of the series. It touches enough of the lore that you're gonna get that flavor. So I think I would have to go with animated as well.
What if you throw in the live-action TV series with the movies?
He's negotiating now. Oh, man. Oh, Obi-Wan the negotiator.
Well, thus far, there's really only been... Well, I guess we haven't seen some of it, so...
Yeah.
We've only seen Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, which...
And Obi-Wan.
Oh, and Obi-Wan,
yeah. Oh, oh, man, because now if you're getting the Mandalorian, now it's getting a little bit more interesting because that one... Still going back and watching that season 2 finale still gets me choked up. So now I'm a little bit closer to. I need. Okay, 6 in the Mandalorian and I'm in. Don't worry about 7 and 8, 9, whatever. Which one would you do? Just out of curiosity, because I know you.
I would go animation all the way.
Yeah, because I know.
I wouldn't even think about it.
I know you actually. Yeah, you go back and rewatch a lot of the animated stuff, because the great thing about the Clone Wars, Bad Batch, all of them, Rebels, is they do have these encapsulated little 3-story arcs. So
yes.
And then they got the standalone episode, but those 3-story arcs are so meaty, and the final season of the Clone Wars was absolutely, positively cinematic. Should have got a theatrical release. When Ahsoka versus Darth Maul was so cinematic that, ironically, the 3 episodes that they released in the theaters a long time ago for Clone Wars that did poorly in there, and like, oh, this animation never works. If you told me, here's free tickets to the sequel trilogy or that 3-episode arc in the final season of Clone Wars, that there's no question what you would do. I'd go see it right now in the theaters.
Absolutely. And then you throw in, there's the OG Star Wars animated.
Oh yeah, there's
Clone Wars.
Yeah,
remember the one where they introduced General Grievous?
Yeah. Oh yes, so that was the Gene Gendry, the guy who did Samurai Jack, that animated version.
Tartakovsky or something.
Yes. Yeah, that was so good.
You also get the Boba Fett cartoon from the holiday special.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Oh man, that
can't live without that one.
You know, if it wasn't for that, people would totally forget about the Christmas special. But that is the anchor. So, but sticking on that same thoughts, Ahsoka, the live action series, is announced, and they cast Ezra Bridger. Hera's been cast. Sabrine Wren has been cast. So what Ahsoka is turning out to be is the next season of Rebels IRL. And Ahsoka stole the show every time she's been on camera for what? Only 1 episode of The Mandalorian? Or 2, right? One in each season? No, it
was Book of Boba Fett.
It was the Book of Boba Fett, that little Mandalorian block that they had in there. She's become so popular, so I feel like this show, if they're doing what they're talking about doing, and like we're going to use all these shows to anchor, and it's going to lead to an Avengers Endgame type event for the series, this is going to be a big part of that. Let's see. Yep. Independently, Ahsoka will be receiving her own standalone live-action series starring Rosario Dawson, fittingly titled Ahsoka. It has no release date, but it is coming out in 2023, and the showrunner is going to be the Padawan himself, who's now the master. The Lunar has become the master. Dave Filoni is going to be the showrunner for this too. He's very protective of the Ahsoka character.
And should be.
Yeah, and he should be. So, all stuff that we do know. But here's something.
Do you think that one's going to be more like The Mandalorian or more like Book of Boba Fett?
It's going to be more like The Mandalorian, without a doubt. If Dave Filoni's running it,
agree.
It's going to blow Book of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan out of the water without even trying. Which is
I agree.
Which is kind of ironic. Everybody was looking so forward to seeing what happened to Obi-Wan after that, or what happened to Boba Fett, and Ahsoka's going to blow him out of the water.
Well, it looks like with Obi-Wan, they took like the Obi-Wan movie script and just turned it into a show. They Netflixed it, as you could say. They stretched it out into a series when it was really just like a 2-hour movie.
Yeah. Yep. And you definitely did feel that, because there was great stuff that was in there, and then there was the stuff that was not so great that made it in there that shouldn't have. So I don't even know. There was no announcement of a season 2 of Boba Fett, even though there's a rumored version, and there's a rumored of more Obi-Wan, but nothing was announced. What was announced is something that we don't know anything about in the Star Wars universe, and it's Star Wars: The Skeleton Crew. Not much info about this. What were they going to be seeing, other than Jude Law is going to be the star, giving off Big Dad energy based on this new pick that's on there. So I have no idea what this is going to be about. Do you think this is going to be the spinoff of Clerks 3 of showing all the contractors working on the Death Star?
Are they going to do the Kevin Smith gimmick where it's like the contractors working on the Death Star?
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
That would be brilliant. They should go ahead and do that.
That's the only thing I can think of, Wayne. I don't know if you heard anything about this at all. All I know is they announced it, and it's going to be coming out, and Jude Law's in it.
I have not heard anything.
No. Yeah, so it'd be interesting. So sometimes it's nice because this is as close as you can get to original property within an IP. So it's like, okay, we found this corner of the universe that's only going to touch on it, but it's kind of original even though it's a known IP. That's the closest dice roll they're going to get.
Look, Adam says they should do a Troops series. Did you see Troops?
Oh, Troops. That's a deep cut Troops. So yeah, Troops was fantastic. Wait, do you remember?
That was one of the early fan films. Did they have fan films before that?
And that's the thing. I mean, everybody knows, like, growing up, you knew Hardware Wars just as much as you knew Star Wars. Like, he encouraged fan films because he was a film student. He did the same thing. So Troops was great.
Hardware Wars was great.
Hardware Wars, Ham Salad, Fluke Starbucker.
I'm trying to think of the names of the rest of them. Artie Deco.
Artie Deco. That was it. Augie Bendagi. Oh man, Wayne, do you remember Hardware Wars and or Troops?
I do not, and I'm feeling very left out.
Oh, really? Not even Hardware Wars?
I feel like I've missed something special now.
Oh man, because Hardware Wars. So they had
Let me see if I can find an image.
Yeah, Chewbacca was actually played by basically a tan version of Cookie Monster. I forgot what the name was.
Oh, right. It was Cookie Monster.
Yeah. Augie Bendagi. I got to find some of the 4Q2. 4Q2! Oh, let's see what some of the cast names here. Artie Deco played himself, 4Q2, Fluke Starbucker, Augie Bendagi, Princess Anne Droid. Instead of Han Solo, they had Ham Salad. And I remember there was a VHS that had 4 different movies, 4 different shorts.
And like Bambi versus Godzilla.
Bambi versus Godzilla, and a take on Apocalypse Now. And it was something to do with I don't know if it's politically correct anymore, but that was also the 4th one on there. And it was
I can't pull an image, but here's Hardware Wars.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh wait, Wayne's not even watching on the internet.
Oh, yeah, can't see
Watch this show later and you'll see these images.
Hardware Wars.
Okay, I gotta know who did the job, Bambi or Godzilla.
Oh, dude! Oh my God! It was a squash match. It's exactly what you expect. They played nice, pretty music, and Bambi was eating. Bambi versus Godzilla, squash match over. Godzilla just stepped on Bambi, and it was so
my God!
Blood splatter and everything. Oh yeah, so that was good stuff. And then Troops was something a little bit later that came out before I even feel like YouTube was big, right? It was just the stormtroopers if they were in the show Cops.
Stormtrooper Cops. Stormtrooper Cops is exactly it.
I have got to find this. My life will not be complete without this.
Yeah. No, you definitely have to see that for sure. So that was good stuff. But I'd love to see Troops because Troops was really good too. So that would be a good one. Last thing that we're going to see in the Lucasfilm announcements was The Mandalorian Season 3, with the bad news also being that it is going to be delayed.
What the hell is taking them so long?
Which is weird because, like you said, they paid Robert to basically make a small show in the sand behind there with some old toys.
Use the leftover props and shoot it behind the garage.
And they could have just used these episodes that they had, and they could have been like, no, now we're done. But I don't know, Wayne, if you watched that last trailer yet, but here's the hint. Let's see if you can guess, because I know you're not a sequel trilogy fan, but they are bringing back one of the most popular characters from the sequel trilogy. Droid is ready!
Yes.
What is that?
That is Babu Frick.
Oh, Babu Frick.
Babu Frick. I feel like no matter what, Babu Frick did get over.
Yes.
Yes, Babu Frick did get over, so we don't know if it's going to be...
That's sad that's one of the high spots.
That is one of the high spots for sure.
Pretty much the biggest thing of that one.
Oh.
What is the last one called? Rise of Skywalker?
Yeah, the Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, that's probably the only good thing that came out of it, as far as I've heard.
Yeah. And the other character is going to be in there is the little... Wayne, I don't know the name of the species of the one that sat on Jabba the Hutt's tail. And he would just laugh. He was basically just an internet troll.
Yes, I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah, on the species name. And then we saw him later on, not in the prequel trilogy. We saw them somewhere where they were on a spike and they were getting cooked. Where in this version, there was a bunch of them sitting in a tree. So don't get me wrong. Disney still knows that Star Wars is made for the merchandise. So they're bringing back some of those popular ones. But... everybody's ready. I think Grogu and Mando could be the savior of the series as far as like the sequel series, because it's going to get to the point that everybody's going to care about that timeline more than they're going to care about the sequel trilogy. They know they're going to have to tie it together, and they've already hinted to with the cloning, and they touched on, whoa, was that, what's his name, floating in the tank, Snoke. So they already touched on that. They're going to touch on it. But if they just focus on Mando and Grogu, I think people are going to maybe forget about it. Oh, JJ said...
What do you mean getting to care more about it? I already do.
I meant getting to people to forget about the other one. The sleight of hand trick. Look at this cool trick I can do.
If someone figures that out, I wish they would tell me.
Jedi mind trick. This isn't the trilogy you're looking for. Move along.
I wish someone would pull that on me.
Yes. So, but I think it's going to be. I expect a ratings bonanza for Disney Plus on getting Mando season 3, because even with people having some heat with Obi-Wan and Boba Fett, it still got the clicks, but everybody still loves Baby Yoda. And I take that back. There was one more announcement. That was a Lucasfilms project. Indiana Jones 5. There's no telling who looked happier, me watching Indiana Jones or Phoebe Waller-Bridge together with Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom co-stars Harrison Ford and Ke-Huy Quan, who reunited after 38 years.
Is Short Round back? Is he in the new movie?
They're making it seem like Short Round is going to be in 5.
He has to be at this point if he's not in it. They're going to shoot a cameo at this point.
Yeah, I mean, he's super over. I mean, Everything Everywhere All at Once got him way back into the zeitgeist, and he's such a... You just like watching him on screen. There's just something about him that makes... So bringing him back in, right? Because you know him as Short Round, Data, and then there wasn't anything beyond that. So to go back to one of these iconic characters, I'm all for it. And I honestly was not Harrison Ford. I thought maybe they're going to recast it or come up with a clever way of continuing the story. But this will do. Give me Short Round. I'm in. Maybe make Short Round the new Indiana Jones version, right?
Harrison Ford has been adamant that there's going to be no new Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm Indy, and that's it.
Yeah.
There is no other Indy. You don't recast it. You're not going to recast me.
Yeah, and he's pretty scary, so I can see him. He seems like the kind of guy that would still punch a producer.
Have you seen that clip where David Blaine does magic in his house?
No.
David Blaine does like some close-up magic, and Harrison Ford's just like, get the fuck out of my house.
It was probably for a shoot. It's like, this guy's serious. Oh, man. Oh, JJ just came up with the names, too. Would you not go buy a movie ticket for a movie called Short Round Jones?
I'm in for Short Round Jones.
Yeah, Short Round Jones is a great title. JJ, you need to copyright that URL immediately because I think that's a great title. All right, so that's it for the Star Wars stuff. Let's go one more real quick. We'll go through the Marvel Studios announcements. We'll touch on the new ones. We already knew Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. They had some stage announcements that would just show more of the cast. If you were live in person, you got some more footage, but that's a movie that you don't need to see more footage of. We're all going to see that. Ironheart, which is coming out, and actually that's going to be not a spinoff, but one of the characters that's going to be introduced in Wakanda Forever, Riri Jones, is going to be showing up in Ironheart, which is going to be a streaming event. We got, this was the big one, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. I think we're now at the stage where you have to have, we were talking about this a few shows back, you have to have some of these OGs, Wayne, what we called giving the rub, right? You need some of the vets to give the rub to some of the new people. And I think that's what's going to be happening here with Ant-Man and the Wasp, because this is going to be our first official look at Kang the Conqueror, not He Who Remains, which is a version of Kang the Conqueror. This is going to be the Kang the Conqueror that is going to be the Thanos of the multiverse saga. Are you guys excited for Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania?
I am. I'm hoping it's going to focus, what is this, Phase 4?
Yeah, this is still part of Phase 4, yep.
Yeah, I'm
sorry, no, this is going to be in Phase, I think this might hit in Phase 5. But I know what you're saying. Yeah, I know what you're talking about, where there's a lot of heat, and we were trying to figure it out if this was the pandy or not. That Phase 4 was very all over the board with a lot of experimental stuff and what's part of the series. It was a rebuilding phase for sure, where to the point where Multiverse of Madness barely had any multiverse.
I hope that, though, I believe they're getting taken on a little bit too much heat, because to me, the lack of focus could stem from the aftermath of Thanos snapping the finger, then the snap comes back, and then, half the original Avengers are dead or lost to time, and it feels like it would be a time of chaos. And I think they took a little bit too much heat for that, but I think it's definitely time to refocus and get things back on track, and I'm hoping that's what's about to happen.
And like for a shoot, we've talked about it before, this is just an actual thing, is like everything got disrupted by the pandy. And that really changed how they were making movies. And it got harder to make a movie, and it got more expensive. Yes. And you had to write around certain things. You just had to make stuff up. And I think a lot of films suffered because of that. And I think right now, they're kind of out of movies. There's like nothing coming out until Wakanda Forever.
Yeah.
So just that there was a lot of things that got limited. Movies take a couple years to make. So we're in that lull.
Of this big scale, yeah.
I think that's a great point, Mario. And I think people just don't understand the difficulty in putting together a production like that under the pandemic.
It was very difficult. A lot of reshoots, a lot of endings that had to be retooled, which kind of threw everything off, like we knew for Captain America and Winter Soldier and Wanda. They did that. Their endings were definitely affected because their original, Doctor Strange was going to be in WandaVision originally and set up for Multiverse of Madness, and he didn't get to be in there. So I think they're ready for Phase 4 to go behind them, which ends with Wakanda Forever, and then leading into Phase 5. Think they're ready to, all right, let's knock this into second gear. And I think introducing Kang, and you're going to have MODOK on there, and Ant-Man being close to one of the OGs and being a popular Avenger, I think is going to be just what the doctor ordered.
Yes.
Next up, we have the pleasant surprise that we talked about a little bit, just a holiday special, Werewolf by Night. The trailer, I highly suggest you check it out. It's a hyper-stylized Halloween special starring Gael Garcia Bernal, and the special will debut on Disney in a couple of weeks, October 7th. Just the quick bio line of it is: a secret group of monster hunters gather at Bloodstone Castle following the death of their leader and engage in a mysterious and deadly competition for a powerful relic which will bring them face to face with a dangerous monster. Do you remember? It wasn't Death Race 2000. It was Escape 2000. And I think the original title was Turkey Shoot. Of like when they were on an island and they were just hunting out prisoners. I love the idea that they're just going to send these people out and you're going to hunt one of the monsters. But then you're going to get that shoot to kill vibe, which I like to reference all the time with Sidney Poitier of like...
You do reference shoot to kill a lot.
What you need me to do is guide you through those mountains. It was such a great movie. But having to have these 5 people going through this trail and knowing the audience knows that one of them is the heel, but they don't know that one of them is the heel. And that's what this is going to be. There's a monster amongst this hunting group, and you don't know who it is. The audience knows, but the characters don't, and I feel like that keeps you on the edge of your seat. And yes, go see Shoot to Kill. Wayne, have you, we were talking a little bit about the Midnight Suns, how this has a little bit of a tie-in there. I think this is a great direction for Marvel to go. They're about to introduce Blade. She-Hulk last week had the beginnings, hints of a possible Ghost Rider in there with a name drop in there. I think
Tommy Blaze?
Yeah, it was Donnie Blaze instead of
Blaze.
Johnny Blaze, which greatly played by Billy Walsh from Entourage. I think it's great. I want to see... I was very disappointed when the monster... What was the Universal Monster Cinematic Universe did not work because the Mummy bombed right out of the gate and we lost. We had Dr. Jekyll and Hypnotist. I wanted that. I love Abbott and Costello meets, Dracula and Frankenstein. I wanted that, and it didn't work. Marvel can do that with the Midnight Suns.
I agree. Have you heard anything? Are they going to introduce the Hellstrom character, Damian Hellstrom?
I think
Son of Satan.
This is going to be the first hints of it. So I don't know if this is just going to be a kickoff, but we don't know where Blade. We don't know when Blade is going to be popping up. So I feel like he's going to be the first one they introduce, but I think they're going to start hinting at these kids. So you're going to get heavily hints of the lore of the direction it's going with one episode that's going to last a little bit less than an hour.
Yeah. And Moon Knight was in Midnight Suns.
Moon Knight, yes, that was the other one that he was part of this, and they obviously just introduced him and didn't really tie him into any lore. That would be great if they somehow find a way to tie Moon Knight into this right now. So I love it. Go for it. Go a little bit darker. Go for that weird universe for sure. Mario, you didn't watch it yet, right?
It has a totally different feel. It'll be fresh content.
The black and white, the use of shadows, the little bit of noir, the little bit of Bela Lugosi, the little bit of Grindhouse. I feel like they did a really good job with this trailer.
Yeah, the trailer was good. I liked it. I did not watch Moon Knight, but I'm a little behind on Marvel content, but I kind of just been saving it up. I'm catching up on She-Hulk. I'm into She-Hulk now. Okay, sure. Smashable. But do you know what I really liked? Was the new She-Hulk trailer. That kind of sold me. It's like, okay, I'll watch the rest of the season. Did you see the new trailer?
No, I haven't seen the new trailer dropped. I'll have to check that out. But I've always been a mark for She-Hulk, and I know people, leaning into the comedy. I think people, again, this has to do with being starved. When was the last Marvel movie that really moved you? We went from starved for Marvel content, and then we just got all these little teases that we haven't been moved yet. Remember, the challenge was we need to create a villain as dark and as iconic as Darth Vader. And mission accomplished. Thanos is in the zeitgeist. Everybody knows Thanos. You can talk about the snaps. He didn't start off strong with those little trailer releases, but his movies, they're almost a victim of their success that people are like, I want to feel moved again like that. And we haven't gotten that yet.
Yeah. They got to build to that. Look, Adam says, I want a West Coast Avengers series.
Oh, West Coast Avengers would be a good one,
They've got the White Vision already ready to go. Who else is in West Coast Avengers?
I don't know, because is that different from the Young Avengers?
Yeah, that's a whole different thing.
It is different. West Coast Avengers, the original was Hawkeye, Mockingbird, who he ended up marrying, Power Man, or Wonder Man.
Wonder Man, yes, Wonder Man.
And it was Vision, Scarlet Witch. So,
yeah, they
opened a West Coast division, so it was interesting. They had
Moon Knight,
other
Scarlet
characters
Witch,
floating out.
Hawkeye, Vision.
Seems like Tigra was there at one point. It was interesting. It had a different feel from the mainline Avengers comic.
They should do that.
A lot of players already in place to do that too. Wonder Man getting a show. Oh, Wonder Man is getting a show. That's cool. JJ broke that right here on the show, so that'll be good. Yeah, I'm all in for that. I say people want to be moved. I'm right there with them. I want to be moved. Next up is Secret Invasion. So that's going to be a series, and then you're getting Samuel L. Jackson. You're going to get the payoff from that post-credit scene in Captain Marvel of the Kree and Skrulls, the invasion. But you're going to get a series, and it's going to be great. And they're pulling back a lot of people, right? They're bringing back Don Cheadle. Martin Freeman's coming back. Ben Kingsley is coming back, too. And then you're getting Emilia Clarke, Colby Smulders. I think that's going to be great. I love the idea of anybody could be anybody at any time. And then I want to find out, we never really got a Nick Fury movie. You know, he was the glue that kind of weaved through the whole Avengers initiative. And then you have a big drop that he's in space. How long has he been in space? How long has somebody else been playing him? I think this is going to be really good. And that trailer they dropped I think that was a successful trailer.
Solid trailer. I liked it.
Yeah. Wayne, I know. What did you get to see the trailer on that yet? The Secret Invasion?
I did.
Okay.
I did. I thought it had a good feel. I thought it set the tone. It's going to be, a really intense, which fits the Nick Fury character. I think it looks great.
I think if they're smart, they're going to lean into like Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yes,
Have
that's
you seen
what
that
I
recently?
want.
Like I watched that a couple months ago. The Donald Sutherland one. Man, holds up. Awesome.
That ending still sticks to me. I mean, it's one of the best gifts you go to. Just like his slow. I mean, that sticks with you. It was one of the endings like, am I too young to be watching this? And still talking about it to this day, that ending that really stuck with you. So, so if they do that, they're in. And I know there's a switch, and Wayne, you know more about the Kree and the Skrull than I do. I know there might have been a switch of who was actually the baby faces and who the heels are from the comic versus what they are going to be in the show.
Yes.
So I don't know. But yeah, we'll be there. And then leading into, speaking of Don Cheadle, Armor Wars, he's going to be getting a Disney Plus series as well. We're going to see how that turns out. I'm not sure. Like, I feel like War Machine's always great, and it's always good to see him around, right? He's one of the team. Can he main event? Don Cheadle's a fantastic actor, so we know the actor can, but War Machine by himself, can he be the main event of his own series? This is the one that I'm not sure about.
That'll be interesting because War Machine and the Iron Man. So it's even in the comic book, he always just seems second rate. So this will be interesting to see if he can pull it off.
Yeah, and he was already dealing with the actor switcheroo. That was one of the few casting, the cast switch. So I feel like he's already one film behind because he wasn't part of the original film. So I feel like Hulk suffered a little bit of that too, which She-Hulk gave a nice shout out to that. It's like, I'm a different person now, literally.
Do the fucking voice.
Listen, Don Cheadle, he's a fantastic actor and he's a good friend of mine, okay? So we're going to just watch his series and we're all going to love it, okay? That's my attempt at Mark Ruffalo.
That's a solid Ruffalo. No one's doing a Ruffalo impression.
Yeah, so we're just going to do a tour for a Ruffalo impression.
Mario, quick little aside. Mine and Jeff's first match ever was against each other. Jeff showed up with a new haircut. He went to a hair salon and he had a bubblegum card of the Hulk with his new haircut, and he said, "Do this."
Proof. I told Mario, I was like, I've been a mark for him for so long, and
Which Hulk?
It was the Hulk that he went with just the top knot. Well, not the top knot, but it was a top ponytail, very Quicksilver. So he went through a 90s phase where shaved all the side of his head, just had hair on the top, and then a ponytail at the top.
You wore big, giant Jinko jeans?
Yes, I did.
Oh, wait, that was your gimmick.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, man, yes, I marked out for Hulk. Still do to this day. Next up was one that it's going to be the first Marvel show that actually gets a season 2. Loki, season 2 is coming. And speaking of Short Round, that's right. They announced that he is also going to be acting in that as well, coming back Owen Wilson, of course, Tom Hiddleston as well.
I love it, but it's such corporate business guy thinking.
Yeah.
He was in another movie about multiple dimensions. So
oh my God, that's right. There it is.
Who can we get?
It's like, well, they made a better multiverse movie than us. Well, then book them. Book them. Oh, man, yeah. And everybody loves Tom Hiddleston, right? He's the MJF of Marvel, that his heel character was so popular that, sorry, we're going to cheer you. You can't stop us. Because everybody just loved the trickster. So, and I think this is going to be really important. And Mike, I don't know if you're still on, but you can get into the lore of how important the Loki series is going to be to the entire multiverse saga. Because I talk about this with my son. What is the difference between a multiverse and a timeline? And we're going to need Loki to explain that. Next up, we just had a small announcement. Nothing coming of it other than the first family of Marvel, Fantastic Four, is going to have its first film on November 8th, 2024, with no announcement of casting and or directors. Wayne, are you caught up on spoiler? Like, did you already watch Multiverse of Madness?
Yes.
Okay, so you kind of know the Jim from The Office as Mr. Fantastic. So the rumor was for a while, it's like, yeah, just book him in the same role again. And then obviously Emily Blunt is his wife, so she's a perfect Sue Storm, and he can be the director because obviously he's a great director. If you've seen A Quiet Place, you know he can do it. But then there's a push to like, no, sorry, is he a victim of pro wrestling that he did the job and he looked too weak, and now they're like, well, now we got to book somebody else. What do you think?
I mean, they turned him into spaghetti and he exploded. You think he would have signed on if he knew that was going to be his finish?
Yeah, no, there was. He's the smartest man in the world. And
was that a Sam Raimi thing? Or who came up with that? Is the way to beat Mr. Fantastic is to turn him into spaghetti and then blow him up.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, they definitely got Scarlet Witch over as a monster heel, turning Jim from The Office into spaghetti. I mean, it did the job, but did it help the Fantastic
Exploding
Four?
Spaghetti.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I'm okay with if they book him to bring him back, and I'd like a little bit of a redemption tour, but with the way the multiverse is playing, we haven't seen a multiverse officially like book somebody new. Like, of course, the old characters are going to be different from the new characters, but just to have them for one and done, I don't know how that's going to get over. And this is too important. The Fantastic Four, it's amazing that how much Marvel has done without the X-Men and Fantastic Four, how important they are into the entire brand, that they've done so much without them. I think now that they have them, they have to do, there's a lot of pressure to do it right.
Well, I mean, I think there's going to be multiple Fantastic Fours, or at least Mr. Fantastics. Yeah. Isn't Kang a Mr. Fantastic?
Yeah, he's a version of Reed Richards. He's a variant or an old... he's somehow related to him for sure. He's a variant of Reed Richards, I believe.
I think they'll book a new young Fantastic Four for whatever, 616. But John Krasinski's exploding spaghetti Mr. Fantastic will still be out there somewhere.
Floating around. But Wayne, am I misspeaking? Like how important Reed Richards is to the franchise?
No. He's interwoven in so much of the lore. I can't believe it's taken them this long to get to them, and even more unbelievable is the hold up on the X-Men.
Yeah, that's unreal that I feel like they're waiting so long.
And I mean, I don't want to jump your list here, but there's talk of doing Secret Wars before they do X-Men. How is that even possible?
Well, I heard about this.
Of that, right? Yeah.
I heard that there's a reason, and it's actually stuff. If this is true, there's clauses built into their Fox contracts. They can't be recast until like 2025 or something. Like they were contracted in for like. I guess when Fox was making those films, they assumed they would make them forever. So they locked folks in. So the contracts that they ended up absorbing,
I didn't know that.
They can't recast them legally. So they have to use them for like Secret Wars possibly, maybe more, but they can't, it has to wait till after that.
Well, that's a good answer. I didn't know that. Unbelievable.
That could be all just internet bullshit, but it makes sense.
Buy
to me.
them out of the contract because to me it would be worth it if it was not absolutely ridiculous, but to move forward. To me, Fantastic Four is huge, but to me, X-Men is to be moving forward without the X-Men is crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I think that they probably could if they wanted to, because Disney owns the contracts that they're honoring, right? But they'd have to give whatever the dude who plays Nightcrawler, buy him out of his contract, or they could just turn him into exploding spaghetti in the next movie.
I say book them, man. I say book them. People look at Cobra Kai. They honor the series so well by booking the same actors to come back and reprise their roles. If you want to do a mutant saga all by itself and start fresh, fine. But for Secret Wars, bring them back. Break out some of that, Goofy money. Break out some of that Tugboat Willie money and pay Hugh Jackman to come back to be Wolverine again, man.
I think
just
we'll
for one more time. Just one more time.
That match is there. They got to book it.
Yeah,
it's going to happen.
You got to have it. You finally have the opportunity to have Deadpool and Wolverine, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, on the same screen. If you just do it once, this is your opportunity.
I mean, they should do that for the next Deadpool. Just go Deadpool and Wolverine. Just do it.
Oh man,
you can afford it. Just make that movie, and then whatever. Then Hugh Jackman can retire. We all will respect. Logan was great, but you can do the Deadpool movie. No one's going to get offended.
Yeah. Now, especially now that we've introduced multiverse, you're like, yeah, that was very cool what you did in that universe. He died, but this is a different one where we're going to do cool shit. You're in. Here's a boatload of money.
It's easy.
Here's a Tugboat Willie full of money. Come get your stuff.
It always comes back. It always comes back to Tugboat
Willie. All right. Next up, we have Echo. So Echo is going to be a spinoff of Hawkeye. We were introduced to the Echo character in here, but there's bigger news from that, and it's going to be great. But I don't know much about it other than they're bringing back Wilson Fisk. He's going to be in there. But the big announcement is after that panel, and that show it didn't give a date. It said mid-2023, but after that panel, Vincent D'Onofrio, one of my other doppelgangers, stayed on the stage, and he's like, "Wait a minute, Kevin. Aren't you going to talk about my show?" And then the crowd popped. And then Charlie Cox's voice came on. And he's like, "Don't you mean my show?" And the people lost it. Went apeshit, got the Road Warrior pop. And then they announced Daredevil Born Again is coming back for a monster amount of episodes. It's coming back. Not too much to report, except they officially sort of confirmed that the Netflix Marvel universe is variants. So even though it's going to be the same actors, it is a different universe. So he's like, don't expect the same Daredevil, but expect that we are going to honor the lore of Daredevil.
So is Iron Fist coming back?
That's all I want to know.
Nobody asked that, right?
That's all anybody wants to know. It's like, cool, you booked that. And it's like, we got this free copy of More Better Blues. It's free? Yeah, no thank you.
One kid at the D23 and the Iron Fist cosplay was just like,
"Aww." Wayne, you're a fan of Daredevil, like the comic? The Netflix series was fantastic, but did you read the comic too?
Some. It wasn't one of the main ones that I got every month, but I did read a few here and there.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I think he works really well. He's a little bit more relatable. He bridges the world of having these fantastic powers, but yet he's still considered a street-level hero.
I agree.
Yeah, so...
I agree, and that was what was so fresh about Hawkeye, was we got off the cosmic level where the entire universe is in danger and got back to the neighborhood.
Oh, yeah, which we need. We need that, like you were talking about early, we need those breathers. We need different corners where it's not the entire universe on the line. It's just maybe, a gang of thugs with weapons, space weapons that they don't know how to handle.
Bunch of dudes with just jeans and mohawks and power tools.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, man. So I think that's going to be good. Well, we're going to find out. I know this isn't too much of a spoiler because it was in the trailer, but obviously Daredevil is going to be making some kind of appearance in She-Hulk, which makes sense. But I think something bigger is going to happen. Fingers crossed for Jessica Jones. We don't know. That hasn't been confirmed, but we know for sure at least Daredevil will be making some kind of appearance if the trailer is to be believed. But it's like a 19-episode order for Daredevil Born Again.
I think that is multiple seasons.
Yeah. It has to be.
It's not one 19-episode season.
Oh, no, so it's going to be different. Okay.
That's broken. That's the multiple season order, whatever it's going to be.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, do that. Like, show us half, give us a break, and then bring it back. I'm all for it. Next up, we got New World Order. Captain America 4 is officially called New World Order, coming off the heels of Captain America and Winter Soldier. But the big news here is after we just got to witness the Abomination return from the Edward Norton Hulk, we are getting Tim Blake Nelson coming back as the leader, also from the Edward Norton Hulk, and he's going to be the main heel in Captain America 4. They needed some kind of buzz because I don't think that series was enough to get Anthony Mackie sold as somebody who can carry a film by himself yet. I feel like they need to get at least one more person in there.
He's definitely not over.
No, I don't think it, like, again, and by no fault of his own, maybe it was just because of the pandy, but Wayne, what do you think? Can he carry a film by himself yet?
I don't know, and I don't know why. I agree with what y'all were saying. It doesn't feel like he can, but I don't know why. He's not a terrible actor.
No, yeah, it's not his performance.
Did they just not give enough, background to make you care? I mean, they touched on it in Falcon and Winter Soldier, but I just don't feel like I have a reason to care for that character.
I think I'm going to stick to my old theory, which I've said multiple times. I think all those shows were not even finished when they put them on Disney. I think that they all got stop. They had hard stops because of the pandy, so they had to just piece it together in editing. It's like, here's the show. The first, especially in WandaVision, because it's like the first 2 episodes just feel like stock footage. They just used they just. When you see a movie, sometimes there'll be like a sitcom on TV, but they'll actually film the sitcom and it'll be on the special features disc, right?
Yeah.
It's like in WandaVision, they shot that, but they were like, let's just make these actual episodes. You know what I mean? So I think, I don't know if you've heard this, Wayne, but the primary storyline on Falcon and Winter Soldier was going to be that there's a major outbreak. Right? There was some sort of outbreak, and that was the main thing. So they, in the last minute, they had to change everything. They reshot it. I don't know what it was supposed to be originally, but I think that those two series just were not finished.
Yeah, and you felt that. You felt like there was a gap. And it made you, like JJ said, he has it, but he doesn't got it. He definitely can do it. He basically didn't even pick up the shield to almost the last episode, so you weren't even there yet. It didn't have enough of an emotional build of what he left off with on Endgame. Was just like, how does it feel? It feels like it's somebody else's. That was big. That was a huge moment. And then just seeing him throwing the shield and discuss, it was there. Maybe it needed more episodes. Maybe it needed something. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I think you're going to see them introduce some elements that are going to be like, okay, yeah, I'm going to see it, but it's not there yet. You can't just say new Captain America and people are going to go check.
Also, he's not on the juice.
Yeah, he's not. Oh,
he's
yeah,
not on the juice.
Serum.
I feel like that's a problem for him. Doesn't that make him a little less interesting? Sorry.
Yeah.
Not to be a peer pressure kind of guy.
No, I think that's honest.
Take the juice.
There's a Wayne. You told me about. There's a great storyline with Steve Rogers going through that. Where who was it, Wayne, that you told me one of the characters like, no, you're nothing without that serum, and he found a way to take the serum out of his body to prove that he was still an able hero.
I can't remember. It was almost like a psychic. Was his name Nomad? Or no, that was who. Maybe, no, I think Nomad was Steve Rogers when they gave Captain America title to the U.S. agent. I can't remember, but there was a character, and they were in Avengers Mansion, and I think they were training or something, and he I guess he lost, and he said, this is coming from a guy who's basically on a souped up steroid. I don't want to hear about what a hero you are. You're on steroids, and you're nothing without that. And he sought out a way to filter it out of his blood.
Yeah. Yep. And
so
I
don't know. I mean, that's a good point. Is that a problem? The visual? I mean, do they need to get Anthony Mackie on the gas?
Just to give him the look. It's
Everybody's
possible.
doing it.
Yeah, the Marvel
Everybody.
That's all you had me at everybody. So it'll be interesting, but it's still new. I'm glad they are moving forward with the story, but I guess if they get nervous at the last second, it's like, oh, an old man Cap is going to make an appearance, and like, okay, yeah, I'll go check it out.
Yeah,
because we all know the Marvel film that everybody wants, and it could just be a standalone special, 5 episodes. We all want to see Captain America bring back each one of the Infinity Stones. We all want that.
Yeah, they can hang on to that one.
Yeah, that's the one everybody wants. Next up, we had Meet the Thunderbolts. They announced the new lineup of the Thunderbolts, and there was a lot of speculation to this, and I'm pretty happy with this lineup. I know everyone's expecting Abomination, but you got Julia Louis-Dreyfus coming back as Val. You got David Harbour coming back as Red Guardian, who was great in Black Widow. You got Wyatt Russell coming back as John Walker, the U.S. agent, which is he was the best part of Falcon and Winter Soldier when we saw that.
I disagree.
You didn't like it?
It was Baron Zemo's dance.
Oh, Baron Zemo's dance, yes. And that's why a lot of people are upset. I don't know, Mike, if you're still on there. Baron Zemo was supposed to be part of this, and maybe he still will be. We still got hopes, but yeah, that was fantastic. Then we have Ghost, Hannah John Carmen, who was that was Ant-Man and the Wasp. Florence Pugh coming back as Yelena, she was basically the new Black Widow, right? Is how I took it. And then Olga Kolorenko as Taskmaster, who didn't get over very well in Black Widow. And then to put the explanation point of somebody familiar, Sebastian Stan is coming back as Bucky Barnes. How do you guys feel about that lineup as the Thunderbolts? Because the artwork made it very much look like this is going to be their Suicide Squad.
Is that what they are?
That's how I take it as, right? Because they're all kind of anti-heroes and kind of throwaways. So I think that's how they're going to.
Is this a series or a movie? This is a series.
This is going to be a film.
This is a film.
Yeah, this is going to be a film.
I don't know who's the draw there.
I think all is one, right? I think it's just.
I mean, no, it'd have to be Yelena Belova, right? I mean, who's?
She's front and center next to Bucky and the Red Guardian. She's front.
It'd have to be her.
Are you talking about for star power as far as
for star? I mean, if you make a movie, you got to have star power.
Yeah,
someone's got to be the person that they're like gets people in seats. Someone's got to have that appeal, that crossover, broad appeal, where it's just like, oh, that person's in a movie. I would like to go to there. You know what I mean?
Yes, I would like to go to there. There's your 30 Rock deep cut. Yeah, I mean, Florence Pugh's
getting over. You need that for a movie. You need that for a movie.
Absolutely. You need the... Wayne, remember the Bobby Zadar, right? We need a face for the box. We need a face for the box.
Exactly.
So does Florence Pugh have that yet? I'm tired of fucking around, Jeffrey.
Possibly.
Yeah. David Harbour, can he carry, from a Stranger Things steam?
I don't think he's got that kind of appeal, but I mean, he's definitely got a following.
Sebastian Stan, I guess those are the three. Like, he's been part of this for a long time. Julia Louis-Dreyfus, I guess you can say if she has the name, but she's on the back of the line, so she's not even there. So it's going to be interesting.
She'll bring in the Seinfeld fans, I guess. What?
What's the deal with the Red Guardian guy?
She better do that dance in the movie.
Rush or no? Oh, yeah, the dance.
But I mean, I don't know. To me, it feels like a weak lineup. I don't know. I'm not sold on that.
Wayne, were you familiar with the original Thunderbolts?
No.
No, okay.
Them or the Champions. I know Hercules was in the Champions, but I never saw them in a comic. I mean, I heard people talk about them and stuff, but I never saw them. But the Thunderbolts, who's the heel?
Society.
Yes, societies. Yeah.
Society.
Well, I mean,
who are they being assembled to take out?
Right, and that's what made me feel like it's going to be a Suicide Squad, because the heel was like, Thunderbolt Ross has always kind of played the heel, and they're also in a little bit of trouble because that was played by William Hurt, who now passed away, and he was going to be the driving force. So I made it feel like William Hurt was going to be the Amanda Waller for the Suicide Squad, but we don't know who they're trying to take out yet. So you're absolutely right. This might really be...
Who is assembling them?
So originally it was Val, the Julia Louis-Dreyfus, right? Because they showed her recruiting U.S. Agent, and they showed her recruiting new Black Widow. So she's made those appearances. So.
They're gonna. I have a feeling they'll be gathered together, and they'll be like, "Okay, here's your mission. You need to capture all these people who defaulted on their student loans."
Student loan at the police. That's like the library police. You know what they call people who don't return library books?
What?
Criminals. There's your Seinfeld deep cut. So I think, I agree. I think with you guys, this might behoove it to have a trailer. And then the last one that we had announced, I think is going to be pretty divisive because the first one didn't get over as well as they expected it to, is going to be technically Captain Marvel 2, but suspiciously missing from the title is any mention of saying Captain Marvel 2. It just says The Marvels, and it's going to introduce Miss Marvel, who we already were introduced to and in the series, and then it's going to have Monica Rambeau that's going to be introduced, which we were introduced to in WandaVision, and then Captain Marvel herself is coming back, and there was an end credit scene that's going to tie that together. Not much has been mentioned beyond that on that, so I don't know. I'm not delusional, right? There was a lot of heat surrounding this movie, like it wasn't as accepted.
I think Wayne's phone died.
Oh, possibly.
No, Wayne's dog started barking.
Oh, okay. Suspiciously during Captain America 2. Them dogs don't bark. But I feel like this movie had a lot of heat.
You know something? I haven't heard a lot about it. I see, it's a female cast, but are they ever going to introduce Marvel, the original Captain Marvel?
Yeah. I don't know.
The Creek, why have you read anything? Do you know why it's getting heat?
No, I don't. Other than I know there was like rumblings for a long time on Twitter about like recasting and just like and then they never really said why. Soundtrack was good. I mean, it was great, but again, it was part of that block of Marvel movies that you feel like didn't move you and you wanted them to move you.
I think the whole thing is just an HR thing, an HR reason, or kind of a way to get rid of Brie Larson.
Yeah.
They were like, nobody likes her. We need to get her out of here. We need to get her out of her contract. Let's just write a movie where we kind of phase her out. We'll slowly phase her out over a series of movies and series. And then, in about 7 years from now, she'll be gone.
Yeah, Mike said people don't like Brie Larson, reflecting that in interviews, diverse casting, getting some woke heat. And here's the thing, her film, I don't remember. I think it was one of the few Marvel films I only saw once, and I'm like, okay, done. That was good. I didn't think anything of it, but she was so great in when she showed up in Endgame. Like, she was such a big part of that. I thought that she did a really good job. But
I thought that was well done because they showed you how powerful Captain Marvel was. She took out that big ship right off the bat, but it would have sucked if she would have got the final kill. It had to be, Thor, Captain America, or Iron Man.
Oh, it had to be one of the three. Oh, I totally agree. That would have. Yeah, I think the crowd would have lost it. People would not have done that.
But the Captain Marvel character, regardless of who plays her, is super powerful. So I don't know why anybody would have a problem with her showing power.
Yeah.
And but I do agree. I don't think Brie Larson is very likable on the outside. So that could, and it seems like she would be expected to carry it. So
heat.
That could be a huge problem.
She got superhero heat.
She does have the heat. So, and I think the Miss Marvel character. If you watched any of the behind the scenes stuff for that show, which in the beginning I didn't watch the show. I told you I don't think I'm the audience for that. But as it got towards the end and they started tying into the lore, I liked it. And I actually ended up liking it even more when they started showing the BTS stuff, and you realize how much of a fan the actress playing Kamala Khan is. Then you're like, okay, yeah, she gets it. She wants to be here. She had that very much like almost that Spider-Man likability. Like, yeah, you want somebody to be like, man, I'm just happy to be here. So that made me like her even more. So putting her in the film, and Monica Rambeau, she was great, and she was a really good part of WandaVision. And you were curious, like where are they going to go with that? So this is smart. If they can't get her out of the contract, if it has something to do with that Ed Norton heat, where like we got to get rid of this guy ASAP. We don't care if we have to eat it on this film. Then if you can't get her into the then put her in an ensemble, because she did fine an Endgame. So you're going to have to write. Wayne's done this millions of times before. When you got a wrestler and they only have one strength, you got to book around that strength. So exactly, that's what they need to do with her. That was it actually for that, and that was a lot. I say that like that wasn't a ton, but that was a lot of Marvel content. There was some other stuff, but the other big announcement that came out of there, which I don't even really consider this a Disney film because this is part of the acquisition, 20th Century Studios, Avatar, The Way of Water, which is coming out this December finally. But I feel like that was an acquisition. Not Disney hasn't really gotten their hands in it, and it'd be curious to see how the future is with James Cameron in Disney.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be a thing. I think he's going to do this one and be like, "I'm out. Y'all wrap it up."
Yeah, and didn't he do like 5 in a row?
He booked 5 in a row, but I don't think he's going to do them all.
Yeah, probably not. But it's just like it's been so long since I saw that. I don't know how you guys feel. We always gamify and we'd look at the ratings, and knowing that Avatar was always sitting at the top, it was always like, what movie is going to finally beat Avatar? And now, obviously, you have Force Awakens and you have Endgame already in front of Avatar. Do you guys think that Avatar 2, The Way of Water, is going to have the same effect on film landscape like the first Avatar did?
I think there's a distinct possibility. Like I didn't care. I've watched the trailer now a few times in the theater, and I kind of care now, and I'll definitely go watch it. But James Cameron has sort of redefined blockbuster movies a couple of times already.
True.
So I would say there's a distinct possibility. It could be okay, but there's still a chance he could just, blow it out of the water again.
I know people were clowning on him a little bit for some of his dialogue, but then also he was clowning on Aquaman, ironically, the film he made in Entourage. Like, they don't know how to shoot underwater scenes, and you're like, oh, wow. But then you saw his underwater scenes, like, oh, that's why he said that.
Yeah.
Wayne, are you an Avatar guy? Like, that was a little bit beyond our running the roads together time. That was 2008?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't.
No. Like, I do remember going to see it in IMAX and being wowed. And I remember how it changed the landscape of 3D because, ironically, it's 3D month at Alamo. But after Avatar, everyone's like, oh, 3D's it. But he's the only one that really booked it to be 3D the way it is. And then we were subjected to a lot of bad 3D after that.
Yeah.
But also, he builds the tech. When he builds the camera, he builds all the stuff as he's going. That's why it took so long. So I am curious as far as like the technology innovations, what's going to come from The Way of Water. But also, was the story that original?
No, it's Dances with Wolves in Space, but that's okay. It's done. People make the same stories. It's all good.
Yeah. That is awesome.
So real quick, we're running long here, but I want to just say one more thing before we get to the end, right?
Yep.
You haven't seen Barbarian yet.
Yes.
You're going to see Barbarian.
I'm seeing Barbarian tomorrow.
I'm very curious for you to watch it and see what you think.
I can't wait.
One thing I was going to tell you that's really amazing about that movie, and I realized this when I was sitting in there. The trailer, you've seen the trailer.
Yep, I did see the trailer.
All the footage from the trailer is from the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Whoa.
That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool.
Every single shot in the trailer is from the first 10 minutes of the movie. So there's a lot of stuff they're not showing.
Oh, I like that a lot.
Anyway, I liked it. I recommend it. You should watch it too, Wayne. We'll talk about it next week.
So it is. So it is the actor who plays Pennywise, and it's from a producer. I know it said from a producer of it.
From
right?
a producer of it.
Yes.
But it's written by some comedy writer. I don't know. He did a show called The Whitest Kids You Know.
Oh, I remember that show.
Okay, anyway, so he used to write that show, and he booked this horror movie. And so I've told you this a bunch of times. If you can do comedy, you can do horror.
I was going to say, we're going to have the next great comedian that's going to reinvent the horror genre.
Yeah. So, I think you'll enjoy it. Don't just avoid anything about it till then.
Yeah.
Okay. And we'll talk about it next week.
I got to limp along for one more day and I'll get it.
All right.
Wayne, man, thank you so much. I know we ran super long, but we always like picking your brain when it comes to Star Wars and Wikipedia. But we definitely, I think the wrestling segment, if you join the show later, if you're watching this, I highly suggest going back and listening and getting that insider perspective, because we literally learned our lessons on the road, blood, sweat, tears, and sometimes piss stains.
Yeah.
Yes. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah.
I had a great time.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it, man. Talk to you soon.
All right.
All right, later.
Later, y'all.